Hello. Welcome to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicle. I believe this is another bot. Otherwise, I'd say thanks for the follow. Thanks, Phoenix. I was about to type that out myself. What a weird thing to do. But I've seen weirder things, so whatever. But hello. I forgot to set the thing. I knew there was something I was forgetting. I forgot to actually change the death counter. Not that it matters, because when do I ever take damage? There. Although I guess it's more of a damage counter when it comes to this game, because I don't think I've ever lost? There was the time in the second or third game where you, like, kind of have to lose, and then someone shows up and is like, wait, I got the thing! But that happened several times, actually. But either way... You know, if I suddenly disappear... Why is the autosave before the... whatever. If I suddenly disappear, it's because the storm knocked out the internet or the power, but it seemed like the storm had settled down. But, you know, anything could happen in a Pokemon battle. Or an Ace Attorney battle. I mean, what is Pokemon battles except just lawyers with magic? I'll try to not explode, but hello, Reborn. Hope you're having a good day. It's the 15th of April, Baker Street. Literally right beside where we live, but we're gonna ignore that part. See, this is why I hate grown-ups. All they do is feed you a pack of lies and take stuff away from you. Hello, Gum. Hope you're having a good day. Oh really, Miss Lestrade? Tell me, is that overcoat keeping you warm? What? Oh my, surely you were given that. Yeah, do you let me keep it, after I took daggers at him long enough? He went through the pockets and then said, go on then, have it. Before telling me to Scarpa. What's that mean? I assume that means leave, but... Always paid off giving people look like you ate them. I can't help a feeling that's gonna get you into serious trouble one day. And also that I've been on the receiving end of that quite a bit. What I really want was that nice shiny disc, mind? The music box disc? Mr. Winterbank said it was practically worthless. Huh, think I'm gonna have another bash. Give him a long stare. I think not, Miss Lestrade. We shan't enter Winterbanks again today. Why not? That's not fair. Can't be helped, I'm afraid. Police are investigating the scene now and taking a statement from Mr. Winterbank. Well, that disc's mine. I had the ticket for his coat, and it was in the coat's pocket. There should be something else and all. That's what that rotten cove said, ain't it? Yeah, he did mention something about another article, didn't he? Well then, that's mine too, whatever it is. Now she's really pushing her luck. Miss Lestrade, I think it's time to admit defeat. You've had your haul for the day. Yeah, it's all your fault, Sholmes. My fault? So what are your plans now? Just gonna ignore the accusation, I guess. Will you dine with us this evening? Eh? I should be delighted to cook, I'm sure, and I might entertain you with my modest violin recital, now that life is worth living again. No, oh. Why would I come around to your place, eh? It's literally right there. You know how far I'd have to walk to get to your place? Have you lost your head or something? Oh dear. She's gone. Having reviled on me quite unnecessarily, I might add. I can't help but be wondering, was it unnecessary? Perhaps she might turn up anyway. Interesting. Once she's had a chance to calm down, I think there's a good chance she'll decide to come. Very well then. I'll inform Iris to set a plate for our potential guests at the dinner table this evening. Weird that Sholmes was not the one to add on to that, but I guess that's Ryu's thing, is like he kind of is better at reading people a little bit. Just not, describing things very well. And one more thing. I should be glad of your company later, too. Sorry, I live with you. I believe I'll have a rather splendid surprise to show you. Oh, how exciting. You shall have to wait and see, Miss Sasato. Until later, then. Now we'll separate to go to the same house. That's a neat looking coat. Can we not look at this? Like, why is this closed? Who is this? I wonder if the... I forgot their names. The Bobby? Yeah, I think it's Bobby. The policeman that patrols the streets. I wonder if we'll meet which one goes on this street. Yoink. Hey, this is where we live! Hooray! Yeah, we can't go back to Windabank. We can go home. Go home. Alright, never mind. Going home was never the answer. Let's go to the other floor of home. Wouldn't I have had to come through here to get to my... whatever. Let's not gonna think about it. Ah, Susie and Runo! Come in, come in. Good afternoon, Iris. We've been gone for like 20 minutes. Although, I guess for you guys it's been like a week or two. Thank you so much for breakfast this morning. Oh, don't mention it. I've already forgotten about it. Goodness, look at the time already. Busy as always? I am. I'm preparing everything for dinner this evening. Already? You're obviously cooking something special, are you? Oh yes, after all, we have a special guest joining us. Guess who it is? Go on, you'll never guess. A gun? Look at those little eyes of hers shining. Oh dear, it's awkward when you already know the answer, isn't it? It's Guinea! Isn't that exciting? Oh, what a surprise. Yes, that's wonderful news. Wow, Iris seems overjoyed at the idea. Can't wait to learn some pickpocketing tips from a real professional. Please don't teach the small scientist how to pickpocket. Oh yeah, that does sound like fun and illegal. I'm not sure that's entirely appropriate. Are you Mr. Naruhodo? I think I'm me. Am I me? I don't know anymore. By the way, Iris, what's Sholmes up to? Hurley? Oh, he's been like that ever since he got back. Just dreading life again. Hello, Mr. Sholmes. I beg that you wouldn't speak to me. I don't know who you are, but I kindly take your leave. As you can see, I'm not here. But you are here. I don't know how to respond to that. Also, wait a second. He's really not there. It's obviously just the angle, but it kind of looks like his upper half, his upper body, is just kind of floating in the air. I can tell that his pants and legs are there, but the way it's like outlined, it kind of seems like he's just kind of floating above the chair. Very scary. I don't know how to respond to that. I do apologize. When he gets like this, he's completely oblivious to everything. Except, not oblivious enough to not respond. Yeah, I see. Really, he behaves just like a child sometimes, Hurley does. That's burns coming from a 10-year-old. Mr. Sholmes and Iris have something of a parent and child relationship, don't they? Only in reverse. Yeah, except that Iris is clearly the parent here. Come to think of it, I wonder where her real parents are. What's the matter, Runo? You have such a funny look on your face. Oh, no, it's nothing. Better not be McGilded's child. I know what it is. Why does this girl live here with Mr. Sholmes, you're wondering? Am I right? How did you... Oh, Bruno, I can read you like a book. Everyone can, for some reason. This girl's dangerous. Even though everyone I've met can read my mind for some reason. It's like, why do I even have thought bubbles? Don't worry, you can ask me anything. I won't mind. Okay. Who are you? Guinea. By Guinea you mean Miss Lestrade, the young woman from McGill case 2 months ago, right? You can just call her by name. Yes, who also stole my experimental smoke grenade launcher. Although, after that trial, I invited her back here and we had dinner together. And now we're best of friends. Well, that does explain why the court record says they're best friends. What a lovely tale. Meeting up with a thief that stole your stuff and then being like, you wanna be friends? Now if I bump into her on the street, she runs away as fast as she can. Oh. And I chase her after her down to the back alleys. And then shoot her with my gun, I guess. Interesting idea of friendship. I mean, I guess we're friends with Sholmes, and he handcuffed me at least 6 times. Then I let her have the latest collar smoke grenade I've developed. Oh. So many beautiful collars in the world. Guinea wants me to make the whole rainbow. Into one grenade? I suppose this means you've let Miss Lestrade keep the smoke grenade launcher, have you? Ryu, you already knew that. Uh-huh, that's right. I got bored of it anyway. Hurley always reacts the same way when I shoot him with it now. Poor Hurley. I can't wait for Guinea to arrive. It's been too long since she last came over. So excited. I hope she has actually come. And doesn't ditch us. You've been wondering why it is that I live here with Hurley, haven't you? Well, it's crossed my mind. That and where are your real parents? My mummy and daddy aren't with me anymore. Uh-oh. Mummy passed away when I was born. And around the same time, my father... Well, he had to go far away land because of one of the cases he and Hurley were working on. Oh. Wait a minute. Did you say he and Hurley? Yeah. Danny and Hurley were always solving mystery cases together. He didn't mention that before. He wrote them all up in his diaries. That's what the metal chest is over there, but, you know, we use it as a table. Really? He recorded them all? So, you mean it's true? Mr. Sholmes really did have a partner with whom he tackled some of his most taxing cases? Uh-huh. I mean, it's always nice to have one, isn't it? Mr. Sholmes' partner was your father? Exactly. Hurley told me I wasn't allowed to look in the chest. But that only made me want to look even more. So I opened it up and found your father's memoirs. Uh-huh. So I asked Hurley, who wrote these? He nearly fell off his chair. And then he told me. That's when I found out that the author of all those accounts was my father. And Iris's father was Mr. Sholmes' partner, who died in a faraway land. Who would have probably been on the boat we were on. I practically lived with Hurley all my life. I was teeny when he took me in, but now I'm only tiny. So it came as quite a shock when Hurley told me he wasn't really my dad. I mean... must have done? Must have done. Am I reading that right? Wonder why Mr. Sholmes chose to tell you, and at such a young age. Hurley says it's because he wouldn't have been able to hide it from me. Oh? Well, having lived with Hurley all these years, you might say his ways have rubbed off on me. Some things I can just see. With the power of this magical bracelet. Especially lies. I almost know when people are lying before they open their mouths sometimes. Right. Anyway, I was so fascinated when I read the Daddy's diaries. That's what inspired me to write The Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes. It'd be so hard to actually say Sherlock Holmes once I'm done with these games. I always assumed Mr. Sholmes simply told you all those thrilling stories. Oh no, Hurley's hopeless like that. He forgets everything. As soon as he solved a case, it all but vanishes from his mind. It's honestly amazing he remembers your names. Oh, I see. Other day it was so embarrassing. As usual, he totally forgot about the case he just solved. So the very next day, he gathered together all the people involved and proceeded to solve the case again. Quite a shock for everyone. You could say that again. It was quite a shock for everyone. Share your father's surname, don't you, Iris? That's right, Wilson. That is Dr. John H. Wilson. I learned from his diaries that he's a doctor of medicine, you see. That's what prompted me to study so I could learn the doctorate as well. Iris' father, he went to some distant land and has a really familiar name. There's a doctor by the name of John H. Wilson. Oh, hey, I'm here. It's been a while. Hoping out here the trial of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Kindly state before the court the name of the victim in this case. Victim's name was Dr. John H. Wilson. This is the kind of coincidence that, like, only happens to the Phoenix family. That's right, visiting professor of medicine at the Imperial Yume University. And the man who, in the most bizarre of circumstances, lost his life just before we left Japan. Miss Sasato. Yes. Perhaps we shouldn't pursue this conversation any further at this time. Maybe later, though. I think that'd be for the best. Oh, okay, we're just gonna drop it. Ah, my dear fellows, how good to see you! Mr. Sholmes! Why haven't you not make your presence known to me before? We did, you told us to shut up! Ah. Well, no matter now. So, how the devil are you? We've been with you for most of the day. Goodness, really? Do tell me, Mr. Sholmes, is your violin unscathed? And also, are you sane? Don't answer that last one. My violin? Whatever are you talking about, dear madam? Oh, never mind that now. I have something far more interesting to show you. I wonder if, like, his stupid hat, like, is on too tight, and that's why his brain just seems to squeeze out his memories. Behold, my dear fellows! Oh, another music box disc. No, not another disc, Miss Sasato. This is the one Gregson demanded we hand over as evidence, Mr. McGilded's disc. I just conveniently remembered that part. I'm just gonna forget that I took the wrong violin. Then, what's it doing here? You know, at times, Mr. Naruhodo, I think that though I have an undeniable turn for detection, I may well be even more adept at larceny. It's not really something to be proud of, but... Ooh, that'd be wonderfully exciting. I'd bet be your pickpocketing assistant. And Runo could be our go-to lawyer if we ever got caught. You know I go for the truth, right? Plus, Susie has such a beautiful handwriting, she could write all our menacing crime notifications. I feel like we've seen this plot. Yes, I'd be delighted. I'm just gonna pretend this conversation never happened, I think. I don't want to have to suddenly show up in a white top hat with a monocle and everything. The music box disc. I don't understand. How'd that disc come to be in your possession? Well, you see, I took it. Thought Inspector Gregson took it back to Scotland Yard. Quite correct. And that sort of uncompromising attitude is precisely why I always carry some of this. That's a bar of caramel, Mr. Sholmes. Your one only friend in times of loneliness, if I'm not mistaken. If you will humor me, my dear fellows, cast your minds back to when the good detective confiscated the disc. I'll be taking that whatever it is and Mr. McGoods down to the yard, thank you very much, so hand it over. Oh, yeah, of course. If the police demand something as evidence, my dear fellow, we have no choice but to capitulate. It's all yours, Inspector. For the briefest of moments, I had the disc in my hand, did I not? Yeah, you did, as evident by the square, such as your hands. I still don't understand. It was at precisely that moment that I summoned my one and only friend into action. I pressed the disc into a pair of bars, like this. So he copied it. And I guess the blood didn't cause an issue with that? That would technically work if the bars were soft enough. And then you would just have to basically pour something into the mold. I've done something like that before. That's amazing! You had 2 bars? The disc and the minical protrusions have made an image of the caramel. Indeed, this caramel is quite exceptional. I developed it myself, you know. Suitably soft for making impressions, but resistant to melting. The result of only a precisely controlled solution. How extraordinary. Carrying a pair of these as one person's frequently proves very useful indeed. Maybe you should start doing it. Take a house key, for example, a simple press, and its unique form is duplicated. I can enter anyone's property at will, and never without high sucrose nourishment. Yeah, it sounds illegal. Yes, breaking into someone's house with their key, or a copy of their key, is quite illegal. From the image, I was able to create this. I confess I was most curious to know what manner of music would issue from the disc when played. Alright, what music is on the disc? Do tell us then, Mr. Sholmes. What music does the disc play? Well, unfortunately, I have no idea. No idea? None whatsoever. Are you familiar with the workings of a music box, my dear fellows? No, I don't know music. Goodness, you don't know, Bruno? We have one, like, right there. Oh no, am I gonna have to memorize this? Well, yeah, I actually already knew this, but... Inside the music box is a special metal piece called a comb. That's what produces the sound. Small protuberances pluck the different teeth of the comb and they rotate past it, making different notes. The first music box is to be invented using a rotating cylinder with the protuberances on it. Have you guys ever made a music box? I haven't, but I have one. In the shape of a necklace. But over time, a new player was produced, which uses discs such as these. With that development, the popularity of music boxes spread far and wide, all around the globe, except to Japan, apparently. Since you know nothing about it. Why exactly? Because the discs are easy to produce, and can be interchanged to facilitate the playing of different tunes. There are a great many firms in Europe now manufacturing music boxes as a result, and soon you'll be able to have one in your pocket. Wonder if we'll be able to enjoy music even when no performer is present. But it's the very success of the invention that means we are now presented with an insurmountable problem. What do you mean? As you may imagine, the construction of one's firm music box does not match that of another, and we have no way of knowing in which music box this particular disc was designed to be played. No resolution to this problem, I'm afraid. It's quite intractable. Ah, I see. So that's why you could just try all of them. See what comes out. Naturally, I tested the disc in the few music boxes I have at my disposal. But as you can hear, to no avail. That sounded like music to me. The results were equally unsatisfactory in this one. So, I am presently engaged in acquiring the example of all the music boxes ever made in Europe. Every single one? That's Hurley for you, always taking things too far. But, my dear girl, an unsolved riddle is quite repugnant to my constitution. Surely all the different types in Europe will amount to a huge volume of music boxes, won't it? Yes, that is certainly true. In the worst case, I shall just have to ask you to vacate the attic room. That's rude. What? Oh, we don't have to, chase that one? Okay. Magnus McGill, not a name I expected to hear again so soon after his funeral. Yeah, it's only been 2 months since that grisly case. Sorry for squeaks. Mr. McGill had perished within hours of the trial's conclusion. Boy, help me! I seem to be burning alive in here. Was it the curse of the Reaper? No one knows, till now. I feel like the writing on this is a little off. The omnibus was reduced to a pile of ash. Not a shred of evidence remained. Except for, a charred corpse. And with the man's death, the truth about the murder in which he was so intimately involved was buried. I thought someone stabbed Sasato for a second in the head, but it is just the knife stuck in the wall. Even though successfully established Mr. McGill's innocence in the trial, the newspapers are still claiming that it remains an unsolved case. It was mostly unsolved, yes. Murder of the brickmaker, Mr. Thrice-Fired Mason. I wonder if we'll see all of them again. In the end, the truth of the matter remains a mystery. We still have no idea what really happened that night. And although Mr. McGill was found not guilty through my defense, I still don't know if that was the right judgment or not. It would appear the case is not yet closed. Well, it's time I started getting things ready for dinner, I think. Kenny will be here before long. Thank you, Iris. Oh, well, you must let me help you then. Boom. Hello, Phoenix. Thanks again for taking care of the bot. Weird that I keep getting followed by those. But, I guess once one gets banned, they're just like, just move on to the next one. It's fine. The only real bad part is that it's raising my follower count without actually raising my follower count, if that makes any sense. Then again, I'm sure I'm followed by like 200 bots, so meh. Unless being banned makes you like automatically unfollow them, that would make sense. But because it makes sense, I don't feel like Twitch would go for it, you know? Keep getting nuked by Twitch, jeez. If only Discord was a little better with that. Being out as a warning to everyone here, and pass it along to your friends. Don't click on any links, even if they look legitimate, on Discord. Unless you absolutely know where they go, and if they're like properly embedded and everything. Because there's been a lot of scam things going around. How many stupid people I've had to ban because they keep getting hacked by CSGO. The game's dead, as far as I know. Why are people falling for get free knives? Of course, Susie, there's plenty to do. I think I shall investigate the condition of my faithful performing partner. I was gonna ignore that I ignored that question earlier. Now then, where did I leave it? And this be a lesson to you, Mr. Sholmes. Never leave anything too precious with the pawnbroker. Yes. You may be right. Oh, that reminds me of something Mr. Winterbank said before. He said he had a manuscript of irises in pawn, didn't he? Did he? Yeah, he definitely mentioned it. Mr. Sholmes' latest tale of otherworldly mystery lies dormant in my storeroom, were his words, I believe. How do you remember that? So you heard about that, did you? I expect you were incensed as I was. I don't know what that means. The idea of such a wonderful story languishing in Mr. Winterbank's storeroom, gathering dust. My dear madam, I'm quite sure I told you already. The pawnbroker's storeroom is the safest place for it, more secure than a bank's vault. And what about your Stradivarius, Hurley? Was that safe and secure? Technically it was secure. It was my fault I took the wrong one. There may be the occasional mix-up, caused by a certain impious someone not too far from me now. Do you have any idea how long it took me to write that Baskervilles story, Hurley? Sounds so exciting, the Hound of the Baskervilles. I should love to read it. What part of that was surprising? Dot, 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 dot. Ah! What's going on here? Why does it feel like an icy chill just swept through the room? Susie, what did you just say? You said the Hound of the Baskervilles. But how could you know the full title? Well, that's because Mr. Sato's such a great fan of all the stories about Mr. Sholmes, of course. But Bruno, the Hound of the Baskervilles has never been published. What? When I showed Hurley the manuscript, he told me I wasn't allowed to publish it yet. I don't understand. That's why he said he'd keep it safe. Until it was the right time for the story to be made public, you see. So that's why the manuscript is at Winterbank's. And yet, how could Susie here know its title? Well, Hurley, what's going on? You see, I have a thing I need to do, so... What is it, Mr. Sholmes? It would appear our guest has arrived. Conveniently. What are you talking about? Miss Lestrade! This was a bad idea. I knew I wasn't welcome. I'm going. No, wait, Miss Lestrade! I've been eagerly awaiting your arrival, even though dinner hasn't even, began yet. Haven't we, Iris? Uh-oh. Things are real awkward. Oh yes, just wait here, Guinea. I'll have everything ready in a jiffy. Come along, Susie. Or I'll point this gun at you. Right, of course. Maybe aim that elsewhere, though. Pleasure to see you here, Miss Lestrade. Please make yourself at home, but avoid the knife on the wall. Don't stand in the doorway, my dear girl. Come along in. You don't have a doorway. We only have one direction in which to look. Stop tipping your invisible hat. What say you to some Mendelssohn? I won't take no for an answer, if you can even pronounce it. Meddlesome it is, then. Meow. Keep forgetting about this cat. Meow. That evening, Iris prepared us all a meal that was even more delicious than usual. So delicious we can't even describe it to you. Mr. Sholmes' violin performance was in no way meddlesome. And Gina, as we all came to call her, taught us how to steal things from one another without being noticed. You know, I did that once. I didn't steal things, but I tried to teach people how to steal things when we did a, What was it? We had to do a report on something, and I chose ninjas, which are pretty well known for stealing stuff. But the teacher told me that I wasn't allowed to do that. I still got an A, though. Everyone thoroughly enjoyed themselves, well into the night. Until everyone died! The end. Naruhodo's legal consultancy. That was a very enjoyable evening, wasn't it? Oh yeah, Ira's cooking was truly divine. If only I could tell you what we ate. I feel as though I could still hear the enchanting strains of Mr. Shome's violin even now. Best of all, I bet I could steal the glasses from his lordship's face next time we're in court. Don't! Naruhodo, could I consult with you about something, I wonder? That is the reason this office exists. What's the matter, Sasato? It's about the telegram I received. Ah, the one arrived first thing this morning, I suppose. I forgot about that. I've been summoned. What? Summoned? Like Shiva? What do you mean? Telegram was from the Lord Chief Justice office. Lord Strongheart asked to see me. Lord Chief Justice? When? Tomorrow morning. What? Then we have to start preparing at once. Oh no, that won't be necessary, Naruhodo. I've been summoned alone. Alone? But this letter's addressed to me. What on earth for? I have no idea. I suppose I shall find out tomorrow. What's all this about? Whatever it is, it's making me feel very uneasy. Knock knock! Oh, who's there? It's Sholmes. Sholmes who? Oh, it's Iris. Good evening, friends. Ah, Iris, hello again. And Gina. And Gina too. Uh-huh, Ginny's gonna stay with us tonight. She's preparing to sleep with me. Iris does seem like the type that would have like a huge queen-size bed. Isn't that right, Ginny? Well, yeah. How lovely, let me make a pot of tea. Hello, Random. Hope you're having a good day. Stop pulling out the gun! You know, I've learned so much today. Oh, what in particular? Things are okay here. I mean, the sky is no longer exploding. I can only blame you for that. That's basically all that's happened today, so. All those things Ginny showed us, wasn't it wonderful? Yeah, you mean all those pickpocketing techniques. We had fun trying them out on each other, didn't we? Do you guys know any pickpocketing techniques? I think I've awakened a natural talent. I could earn a living from it. You might be getting ahead of yourself a little there. Now what brings you to our humble quarters at this late hour? Because I only have nickels and dimes. Well, you see, I came to return this. Wait, what? Hey, that's mine! But it never left my court record. Oh my, however did you... I told you, didn't I? I have a natural talent for it. Oh yeah, I'd forgotten. Iris literally is a child genius. So anyway, here, you can have it back. Not that I really understand why you wear it, though. Ah, thank you. It's like my badge and everything. Well then, good night. Yeah, good night. So this is your office, is it? We've lived here for, like, 2 months. Or at least a month. How do you not know this? What do you think, Ginny? Think I wouldn't fancy me chancing with the lawyer that who lives in a place like this. Yeah, me too. This is your attics. Even though Iris here still has something she'd like to talk about. I suppose she probably wants to talk about the manuscript. Could you, like, not read my mind for 2 seconds? There's a reason I think these things. Yeah, I suppose she probably does. The manuscript. Iris, I suppose you're hoping to talk about the manuscript, aren't you? Aren't you going to tell me? Well, I'm so sorry. I need a little more time before I die tomorrow. Because I've seemed to have inherited someone's death flags. And I've only got 6 of them. Alright, I understand. Hope I haven't made you feel awkward. Oh, no, not at all, Iris, not at all. I don't know what all this is about, really. Story you made up, is it, Iris? The manuscript or whatever you call it? It's not exactly a story that I made up. It's something I read in Dad's diaries. Diaries? That's right. I don't suppose I've mentioned it to you before, Guinea, but... my dad was Hurley's assistant once, his partner, in crime. Eh? They solved all sorts of strange mysteries and cases together. Is that right, mister? Apparently so. I'm as surprised as you are, though. And Dad wrote all the details of every single case down, you see, because Sholmes can't be trusted to remember today, let alone every day. So I study them and write my stories based on what actually happened. So where's your old man now, then? He had to go away on urgent business to a faraway land, and he'll be gone a very long time. So I've never really met him. Oh, right. Come to think of it, I don't know anything about Gina's parents either. Perhaps we should ask her. Or maybe just leave it to that. Man, since you probably missed it, Random, we went to the pawnbroker's place, and he mentioned that he had one of Iris's stories in his storeroom. And Sasato mentioned the entire title, even though no one ever mentioned it. Which is the Hound of the Baskervilles, apparently. This Hound of the Baskervilles story, take it that's another tale inspired by your father's accounts? Uh-huh, that's right. I thought it was fascinating. But it's different somehow. From the other cases, I mean. Oh? How? I don't really know, but it must be special in some way. After I'd written it, I showed the manuscript to Hurley. He turned as white as a sheet. It was the first time I'd seen him like that. Pains me have to say this after you toiled over it for so long, Iris. But this story must not be published at this time, under any circumstances. But why not? It's one of my best works. I'm not at liberty to say. Not now. So please, do not ask me. Alright then, I won't. What I do solemnly swear I'll explain everything one day, Iris, when the time is right. If I remember. Well, Sherlock Sholmes and... or Sherlock Holmes, rather. And all of his stuff are basically free to use by anyone. Like, you can't profit from it, but they are public domain now. And I assume that's one of his actual stories. Not that I've read any of them, so I don't know the context. That's how the manuscript came to be with Mr. Windibank, is it? Yeah, Hurley said I'd be somewhere very safe. That really gets my goat, that does. He's treating you like a child. I'm 10. I mean, it is what it is, keeping secrets like that. I'm sure Mr. Sholmes isn't trying to be mean. Eh? If he said he wasn't at liberty to talk about it, I'm sure there must have been a very good reason. I think so too. Tch, you lot are too trusting for your own good. But you can pull the wool over my eyes. Sholmes is lying to Iris. I bet my life on it. What? Hurley's lying to me? And there she is over at the stairs. Can I look at this now? Bruno, what are you doing? Look, I'm not gonna steal nothing, alright? It's all junk anyway. Charming, I suppose I engage our guests in conversation, really. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, don't look at stuff, look at people. Realize I don't know anything about your parents, Kina. I ain't got any ever. Never did have. Oh. Look, the East End's full of orphans like me. No one wants nothing to do with us from the moment we're born, not even our mums. Least of all our dads. But we all stick together. The older ones look after the little ones, make sure they get by. So that's why you're a pickpocket. Sure, why not? Nah, diamond's my life, I love it. Get a kick out every time I lift some pompous idiot's purse. That's how we all have to afford to eat. I'm like Robin Hood, ain't I? That's how I see it. Surprised I could say Robin Hood, too. Oh, Gina. I do think about it sometimes. What would it be like to have parents, I mean? I always thought make everything right. I haven't listened to what Iris just said. Sounds like having parents ain't always easy either. Oh. I mean, if you know you never had them, you don't feel like you're always wanting to meet them. It's true. I do want to see Dad so much. There's so much at stake. Yeah, I know Robin Hood's also public domain. Like, everyone's used Robin Hood, but I was still surprised that he was actually Robin Hood and not... I don't know, how would you reverse it? Hobbin Rude or something? No, because they reversed Sherlock Sholmes. Or they reversed Sherlock Holmes to Herlock Sholmes. So clearly they would have to make it Hoob and Robin, or Hood and Rube, I don't know. Not all of Sherlock's stories are yet? Interesting. I wonder how many years it'll take for all of them to become public domain. I don't know how to reverse letters. I can barely speak English as is. To be Hobbin Rude instead of Robin Hood. Instead of the Hobbit, it's the Hobbin. You know, what do you mean by you said your parents... Wait, what? Bleh, I can't even read. What do you mean when you said that you know Mr. Sholmes is lying to Iris? Well, he reckons he popped that manuscript or whatever, right? But come on, it's obviously a load of rubbish. Oh my, why would you think that, Gina? Yeah, unless Disney pushes for it, but do they own Sherlock Holmes stuff? I can accept them, like, pushing Mickey Mouse and everything, because they're still actively using him, and, you know, the company was kind of ran by the guy who created him. Plus, if, you know, Disney's stuff went into public domain, I think they would basically lose half their stuff. Pushing all copyright links to be longer? Jeez. I'd accept it if it was still being used, but I don't know. Like, if their creator hasn't been using them for years, then just let them go. Make something new. Say, Bill, that store is was really an old Winterbank storeroom. No way someone from halfway around the world, in other words, you, could know about it. Well, about that. Sorry, Iris, but if you ask me, he sold it. Without telling you. But Hurley would never do something like that. I'm sure of it. Ha! Grown-ups do a lot worse than that, believe me. Bare-faced liars, the lot of them. Yeah, well. You just ain't realized it yet. Being 10 and all. I'm telling you, the manuscript ain't a Winterbank's. You'd soon seen if you had a look. Even if you think you can trust him. I don't. That Sholmes is a liar like the rest of them. If I'm honest, I have wondered if Hurley's telling me the truth sometimes. See? Oh, but I don't mean I think he sold it. I mean, sometimes I wonder if he might have hidden my manuscript somewhere. Somewhere I don't know. Even though it's wrong of me to doubt him. "75 years after the death of the author, or 95 after the publication." I wonder how long it is in Japan, or if they even have that. I was thinking, I'm wondering if Nintendo would have to start pushing for Mario to, you know, fight against public domain stuff. Because if they lose Mario, that's it. Oh yeah, I know. Sherlock is in Britain, and Disney was... I think Disney was in America, right? I can't remember what state they started in, though. Don't be so hard on yourself, Iris. Oh my goodness, look at the time. It's been 20 minutes. Come along, Guinea. We should go back downstairs. Ow. Yeah, alright. And please, don't mention any of this to Hurley, will you? He'll explode. Nah, of course not. Good night then, Iris. Good night, Gina. Let's let me make breakfast for you tomorrow morning. I insist. It'll be the last meal I ever make. Oh yes, please. I can't wait, Susie. Good night then. Yeah, Disney. I don't remember where they started. Iris, it sure is easy to forget, isn't it? Sometimes she speaks just like an adult. But deep down, she's still just a child. Well, I think it's time I turned in for the night too, Naruhodo. Don't go into my room, I'll kill you. I'll just sit here and sleep on the stairs. Dr. John H. Wilson, Iris' father. But also, name of the murdered visiting professor at Yume University. Can't be a mere coincidence. Something deeper going on. Dot 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 dot. Why did we have 3 separate text boxes of dots? Naruhodo. Mr. Naruhodo. That voice. That's Mr. Sholmes. What's going on in the middle of the night? It's Miss Lestrade. She's gone. Gina? She was supposed to be sleeping in Iris's room, but her bed is empty. Well, she's an independent young woman. Probably decided to go home, no? I think not. From speaking to her before she retired, I received the distinct impression that she was looking forward to breakfasting with Miss Sasada. No, I don't believe the girl has gone home, but I've been waiting for over an hour now. Over an hour? Oh. If you'll indulge me. Look out this window, my dear fellow. Oh, she better not be hurt. She was a good character. Oh, she probably snuck out to check Windibank. Yep. Wait a minute, why is there a light on at this time of night? Also, how can I see this? How... The house is over there on the right. The angle doesn't make sense. That's Mr. Windibank's pawnbrokery. Mr. Windibank? Oh no. It's simple. That store is really old Windibank's storeroom. There's no way someone from halfway around the world, in other words you, could know about it. I crossed the street with my eyes. Yeah, Gina would do this. With my mind. And my eyes. Yeah, I just bent my vision 90 degrees. Don't worry about it. Without telling you. Could Gina have gone? Seems you have some knowledge of the situation, Mr. Naruhodo. Sorry? Oh, no, not really. I mean, yeah, don't read my mind. Well, anyway, we must investigate. At once. Mrs. Sato, why are you listening in? th of April, 1:14 a.m., Baker Street. Door to Windibank's is open. And the lamp's burning. Must be Gina, mustn't it? Let us hope it's nothing more sinister. Also, I have my coat on. What? Come, it's not a moment to lose. Clearly something is afoot inside. She doesn't seem like the type that would light a lantern near a window, though. Oh, there's blood on the calendar. There's no one here. Oh, yes, there is. Mr. Sholmes! What the? Has Sholmes been shot? Leave me, Mr. Naruhodo. After them, go! Alright. I'll use my mighty katana skills to knock away their bullets. Blast, I've lost them. Hello, what have we here? Alarm was just raised from this pawnbroker, sir. Would you know something about that? Officer, come with me. It's my friend, Mr. Sholmes. He's been shot. Shot! Oh wait, I forgot he was Mario. With the policeman close behind me, I ran back to Windibank's. Oh, a cutscene. Is Mr. Sholmes dead? Why didn't I use my mighty katana skills?
Mr. Sholmes!
Mr. Naruhodo.
Naruhodo? Is that how you pronounce that?
What is it? Never mind me, but there's much at stake. Behind that door. In the storeroom.
And where's the Bobby?
Hurry!
It's locked. Darn it! Use my sword! Mr. Windibank dead? Yep. And there's Gina. She's not dead though.
It's Gina!
Sorry, Gina. To be continued. You're looking outside the same as going outside, just with your vision and your mind. Investigation, part 3. Bang! Oh no, part 3 has resulted in more gunshots. I'll be alright, Mr. Naruhodo. After them, go. Probably me again. Behind that door, in the storeroom. Hurry! Wait, that's not where that was. That was on the right side of the door. Not in the middle. Oh, she has a gun. kind of surprised he, like, not to be really dark, but I'm kind of surprised he wasn't shot in the head, considering he kept threatening with that earlier. From that moment, Windibank's pawnbrokery became a crime scene, as expected. Everything that followed happened in a whirlwind of activity. The arrival of the police, who should have been behind me, preliminary investigation of the scene, and all the questioning. Just before dawn, before I was allowed back into my lodgings at 222-1B. Naruto's legal consultancy. Oh, hey, Iris, how's it going? Oh, Iris! Telegram came, but all it said was, wait at home. Oh, yeah, we asked one of the policemen to have it sent. Simply impossible to come back. When I woke up, I was all alone. Hurley and Gina were gone. Everyone was gone. What happened, Naruto? Poor Iris, she's trembling. Obviously trying very hard to not let herself get too worried. I'll explain everything that I know. Something awful's happened, hasn't it? Well, yeah, I'm afraid so. It will probably yell at me if I try to look at stuff, so... Sorry to have to tell you this, Iris, but Mr. Windibank is dead. Oh, good. How do people die from this? He got shot once in the shoulder, right? He was shot. We discovered it in the early hours of the morning. Oh, yes, I had a feeling. You did? Well, yeah, I just looked outside and then my vision went over into Windibank's place, like yours did earlier. Well, I saw those police carriages pulling outside his shop. I knew something must have happened there. It is literally outside my window. When we entered Windibank's in the small hours, we disturbed a gang of 2 thugs. They ran out into the street, and we'll have no idea who they are. I chased after them, but they got away. I'm really slow. It was one of them who shot old Mr. Windibank, I suppose. I don't know, but that's not what the police believe at the moment. Oh, why not? They've arrested someone else as their prime suspect, you see? Gina. Guinea? But why? Well, the thing is, No, Guinea wouldn't do something like that. She's too good. I know. None of us think she did it. She would have stolen without a gun. Then why'd they have arrested her? I'm sorry, there was nothing I could do. Even though I have a sword. Oh, I guess we're going for that one next. I don't understand why they arrested Guinea. It's not fair. What about the 2 thugs that were at the scene? Why aren't they at the prime suspects? After all... They shot Hurley dead, didn't they? What? No, I mean, Mr. Shulman isn't dead, Iris. Ah, darn it. I mean, this is also horrible. Thing is, Mr. Windibank is found on the floor of the storeroom where he keeps all his deposit articles. The storeroom door was locked from the inside. I see. But he wasn't alone in there. Gina was found next to him on the floor as well. You know, one problem I have with most of these stories is that the police are always so stupid. According to the detectives who investigated afterwards... Don't tell me. There was no one else in the room? Yeah, exactly. How'd you know? The only explanation. Yeah, the only explanation indeed. No, it's not. There's literally a window that anyone can open. And they could just point their gun through it and shoot them. What do you mean by that, Runo? Yeah, what can I say? So where's Hurley then? Is he still investigating the scene? He really ought to have some breakfast. It's not good for him to miss meals. I don't want you to worry, Iris, but I have some news about Mr. Sholmes. He's dead. He was taken to the hospital this morning. What? Well, when we entered Windibank's, the gun was fired and he took a bullet. Hurley was shot? No. It's alright, his life isn't in danger. Really? Are you sure? I mean, someone got shot in the shoulder and they're dead. Where is he? Which hospital? He's at St. Steiner's. Sure, I'm glad it's not Hada Clinic. They're attending to him there. I must see him, at once. I'm sorry, Iris, but you can't. Why not? That's not fair. I'm a family member, I should be allowed. No, I mean, nobody can see him at the moment. He's not allowed any visitors. They're preparing to operate, you see. You know, to take the bullet out. Oh, poor Hurley. They'll find his hidden stash of caramel chocolate in his liver. And they'll totally confiscate that. It was the two thugs who were in Mr. Windibank's shop. They shot Mr. Scholl when we disturbed them, you see. It was pitch black inside the shop at the time, even though there was clearly a lantern and would have lit up the entire shop. And we could see very clearly in the cutscene. My mind went totally blank, I'm afraid. I just froze. After them! Go! After that I ran out to the street, but... well, they were long gone. I shouldn't have hesitated. I also should have realized I was standing in the doorway and could have just blocked them. I'm so sorry, it was my fault. I let him get away. I think... that's a very good thing. Sorry? Well, if you'd seen which way they went and chased after them... you might have been shot as well, who knows? What? Do you not know my katana skills? I can deflect a bullet. On top of everything else, I couldn't bear that. Oh, Iris. You could deflect a bullet with a katana, right? Where's Susie, Runo? Still at the police station. Oh, why? I expect she's still being questioned. The police said they wouldn't be finished for a while. Why are you there, then? Well, I didn't get a good look at the criminals anyway, so they weren't questioning me for long. Because they're very, very bad at their jobs. Mrs. Sato stayed behind the scene to tend to Mr. Sholmes, so they didn't get started until later. Ah, I see. Besides, I'm a lawyer. One of us had to come back to be with Iris. I'm glad Inspector Gregson agreed to me leaving early. Should have let me know and I would have come to the station. Afraid I'll need to go out again now, Iris. Not much I can do at the moment, but I can at least try to find out how Mr. Sholmes and Gina are getting on. I want to go too. I mean, Sasato's gonna die in this chapter, so take me with you, Runo. Can't stand here just sitting around waiting. I'm not sure how I feel about taking a 10-year-old child to the scene of the murder, but also she has a gun. I don't want to leave her all alone here either. Alright then, Iris. Perhaps you could help me? Oh yes, I'd love to. We'll do the whole course correction thing, but you won't have to correct a single thing I say. Gina's at the prison, Mr. Sholmes is probably in a hospital bed. Don't forget we have to visit the crime scene. We need to conduct a thorough investigation. I can see you're totally ready for action. And I just appreciate going to the hospital sooner rather than later. But didn't you just say we couldn't? He's getting operated on. I mean, I'll go here first, just because. Wow, they put him in the worst room. Hurley, oh. He's not here. Nah, that's strange. Nurse definitely said he was in the bed by the window, didn't she? Oh, I know what's probably happened. Hurley was being a big baby and the bullet wound wasn't bad after all, so he was sent home. I'm not so sure about that. Baby or not, there's no question it was a fairly serious injury Mr. Sholmes suffered. Oh. Hello, what have we? This ward is off limits, no visiting. What are you doing here, eh? Well, I'll have you know, we're Hurley's next of kin. Is that what I qualify as? Oh, we'll be begging your pardon, ma'am, sir. Little lady and a curious Eastern gentleman. Great mystery solver's mysterious family, eh? That's how you see us, sure. Where is he, Constable? Where's Hurley? I don't know. I believe he's currently in the operating theater, ma'am. Undergoing extensive operation. Extensive? Been several hours since he went in. Oh dear, is he gonna be alright? Well, doesn't appear to be working, you see. The anesthetic, that is. Oh. I've heard a report the gentleman claims he may have a little too much to drink last night. Coffee, that is. Anyway, I think it'd be fair to assume he won't be back for several hours yet. I see. Thank you, Constable. After we leave and come back later. Oh, poor Hurley. Alright. Well, let's leave then. Can we go in here? Windibank's pawnbroker. I'm glad they also noticed the blood stain by the calendar. This is where it happened then, last night. That's right. Two thugs I told you about were obviously ransacking the place looking for valuables. But apart from the policeman in here, you wouldn't know anything bad had happened. No sign of a disturbance. No, you're right about that. No, what? No, you're not. There's broken stuff on the floor, there's blood on the calendar. In fact, if anyone, the police seem to be the ones doing the ransacking. I know what you mean, they're like a gang of organized criminals, all dressed in black. Oi, I heard that. No, it's you. Oh, Inspector. Good morning. Yeah, I suppose thank you for your vigilance last night. We got the scene before there was disturbed, at least. Shame you let the two rogues get away, mind? Yeah, I'm sorry about that. My katana skills were not up to par. I was never good at golf, either. I thought you'd assign extra men to the beat around here, Gregsy. Now looks what's happened. Hurley's been injured because there weren't enough police on duty. Ah! Your ladyship! No one told me you were coming. I expect you to take full responsibility for what happened to Hurley and see his very best medical care. Of course, your ladyship. Very best doctors in the capital are tending to him as we speak, even though we can't, put him to sleep. And I don't think it's Runo's fault that the rogues managed to get away, is it? Chasing criminals is the police's job. Yeah, absolutely, your ladyship. As you say, ma'am, as you say. Iris is going to be the queen soon, I think. Gent in Black's totally blameless. Everyone's in agreement about that. Did you believe it? Completely different person with Iris. Talk about a personality change. Also me? Blameless? That's a first too. So, where are my manners? Are you thirsty, your ladyship? Perhaps you'd like some juice? Some nice refreshing fruit juice? Oh, why are you thirsty, Gregsy? I have some of my special herbal tea with me, if you'd like some. Glug glug, glug glug glug. Ah, lovely. That's very much. That really hit the spot, your ladyship. I definitely don't feel like I'm gonna die now. I don't even recognize him like this. Oh, now I do. Alright. Just gonna go ahead and look at this real quick. Alright then, let's see what we can uncover. Oi, what do you think you're doing, Sunshine? Can't touch anything in here. I'm not. I'm looking. You were hoping to investigate. This is a crime scene, for Pete's sake. Don't touch it. What's the problem, Gregsy? Bruno's a lawyer, you know that. Oh, I'm ever so sorry, your ladyship. Ever so sorry. Rules and regulations are a thorn on my side. Of course, if Mr. Naruto were improperly appointed by the accused, that'd be another matter. The accused? Show some representing papers, I'd be all too happy to let your nose around. Yeah, I figured. Did you hear that, Bruno? You'd get you to sign some representation papers. Looks like presenting a detective here with the correct paperwork is the only way. Fine. Go talk to Gina. Been a while since I've been here. Surprised they let her keep her bag. Hello, Gina. And the gun, for that matter. Oh, you still have the grenade launcher Hurley and I made, for some reason. They just let you keep that in a gel cell. Wish you wouldn't point it at me all the time, though. I'm allergic to pink. No offense, Iris. What are you here for? Kenny. I have feelings because of us you've ended up in trouble. We were thinking that we might be able to help you. Well, you can't. Sorry? You heard. Get lost. Don't be like that, Kenny. I know you didn't do it. Wow, that's super weird. That's a super weird coincidence, Phoenix. You put the Lime's happy thing and Sapphire sees it as the happy birthday rainbow emote. Or as a happy... I don't know where that's from. It's just one of the defaults, maybe? But she was mentioning earlier that she wanted to make the whole rainbow. You know, take a picture of it. Oh, right. I have to actually plug this in. Keep knocking the cord loose in my drawing pad. Makes me worried that I'm gonna actually break something at some point. Not that I haven't done that before, mind. Click. And then I take it over here. This is very important. That's why it's taking forever. Darn it. Have to move it above the video again. There we go. That's what it looks like for some reason. The happy birthday with whatever that is at the end of it is what the Lime's OMG emote turns into. For some reason. The Sapphire really just can't read. This back down here. There. Anyways, back to game. That's just a super weird coincidence that it brought up the only rainbow emote out there. Think you know me? Pull the other one. Oh. You ain't got the first idea about the likes of me. I'm a thief. I pinch people's purses when they're walking down the street. That's how I get by. If it's sold me a chance, I sneak into the pawn shop by any day of the week. Uh-huh. Just to see what I can lay my hands on, get it? That's the kind of person I am. But Kenny... I'll be in court tomorrow, they said. Some cove came by before and said to be a lawyer for me and like. Said it was my right or something. I told him to get stuffed. I don't need no lawyer. I don't need no one. Couldn't be staring at me anymore, obviously, if she tried. Why are you being like this, Guinea? I don't understand, Gina. Why'd you send the public defender away? He wanted me to sign some papers, representation papers or something like that. It's all gonna be rigged anyway, whole trial. They'll pin it on me because I'm a kid. That's what grown-ups always do. Why do you think that? That's always been for me, growing up in the back slums, me whole life. If you do what the grown-ups tell you, you'll get your mates dragged off by the coppers, or worse. That happened to me all for and all. Been sold out by nearly snaffled on the back of it. Can't trust no one, that's the point. As soon as you do, you're gone to grass. Dead. Gina, listen. If you like, in tomorrow's trial, I could... Forget it! Guinea, don't you trust Runo? Nah, I don't. Oh. Look, I'll ask you nice for now. Just leave me alone. Nah, don't blame him. I have a very untrustworthy face. Tell us what happened, Gina. Last night at the pawnbroker's. Nothing to tell. Figured it'd pay me, so I broke into the place and started going through the storeroom. But the old bloke walked in me. You know the rest. But why, Guinea? Why would you do that? Ain't it obvious? This place is full of stuff I could sell for a shilling or two. Diamond ain't easy, you know. It's a lot of work, and half the time you don't even get nothing. Is that really why you broke into the place? What? Are you sure the true reason wasn't something else? Oh, give it a rest. What'll be the point anyway, eh? Nothing I could say would make a blind bit of difference. Please tell us, Guinea. We'll believe you, whatever it is. Believe me. Don't be daft. Can't believe nothing. Everyone lies all the time. We're standing at the moment, though. And you know what? When it comes to liars, I'm the biggest one with the lot. I've told some unforgivable lies, I have. What do you mean by that? What unforgivable lies? Unforgivable lies. What do you mean before, Gina? Like 2 seconds ago, when you said that you were the biggest liar of the lot. Why don't you tell us what these unforgivable lies you've told are? Maybe we can help. Sorry. We're out of time. They're gonna be wanting to question me now. Danny, please. Oh yeah. Want to give you this. Something to remember me by. A cat? Photographic print of a really adorable cat. It kind of looks like their cat, but it's missing the bow. Found it in one of the pockets of his coat. Ain't no point in me having it. I wonder what a little photograph like that was doing in the pocket of that overcoat. Anyway, don't bother coming in again. Bye. Oh, Guinea. My cat photograph has been entered to the court record. Why is that going to be important? Did you have a look at that, that's strange. Where's my armband gone? What's the problem? Something wrong. Don't suppose you're looking for this? Yeah! But how? When? And how again? I got a talent for it, haven't I? Diving. Borning on black magic. Sholmes also did that, though. It makes me what I was about to say about my armband seem a little dull. So, what do you want to tell me about it then? No, do it again. Darn it, she keeps stealing it. Alright, can we look at this picture? Oh-ho. Look at the back of this print here, there's something written on it. 13th of February, 9 p.m., article deposited, 1 small box. Loan amount paid, 10 shillings, redemption deadline, 13th of April, 9 p.m. Photographic print is a redemption ticket? 13th of February, that could be significant. It was just 2 days before the murder on the omnibus, wasn't it? A small box doesn't tell us much about it, does it? Bruno, Mr. McGoods still had the ticket, then presumably he never redeemed the article. Do you think the box might still be present somewhere in the shop? Ah, yeah. It's something like Mr. McGill deposited we need to investigate. I'm a little sad that the cat picture isn't on there now, but... Here, Gina, look at this. Nota! I wouldn't say you could have it. Oh, weren't you? Well, when someone says I can't have stuff, it makes me want it, see? Better hand it over now. No, I'm not giving it to you, even though you gave it to us. Alright, hang on, I'll be right back. I probably have to talk to this guy and get the papers or something, and then present those. How's the investigation going, Inspector? Don't do it, really. Very simple case. This very definitive evidence, which means it's not definitive at all, because we're really bad at our jobs. Just about to charge that diver we arrested last night, in fact. Gina? You're gonna charge her? Well, we already charged her and then took her to the police station. That's right. Should bring her before the judge by the Bailey tomorrow. Definitive evidence, you say? What is it? Come on, show me. Your ladyship, as much as I wish I could oblige you, I'm afraid... Ah, I see. You've already captured the pair of thugs who broke in here last night, have you? What the... And you're going to put them on the stand as witnesses, are you? How could you... How could you possibly know that? I had a feeling, that's all. Shouldn't they be arrested for shooting someone? I mean, I never try to keep a secret from Iris. Ryu, you can barely keep a secret from your own thought bubbles. You arrested the 2 men who shot Mr. Sholmes, have you? Well, yeah. They were rounded up pretty quickly by the lads on the beat. That's good. And Mr. Stray's being held into prison? She should be. Yeah, it would be nice, wouldn't it? But sadly, I don't think that's going to be the case. Besides, we need Sasato for the Sasato takedown. Why she didn't use that on the 2 people who shot Sholmes is beyond me. Feel like they were kind of building up to that and it didn't matter. Just assuming she hasn't been lifted the cave from the jailer, of course. She probably could, with her black magic. Can you tell us about Mr. Sholmes? What's his condition? Sorry, I'm not at liberty to divulge that information. Scotland Yard matters are strictly confidential. Does Scotland Yard matter? But I know he's being operated on at St. Steiner's. Why can't I see him? I have family, you know. I'm terribly sorry, your ladyship. It's the hospital's policy. Don't visit it at all. But we already visited, and they said it was fine. He just wasn't there. The bullet must have had an artery in his midriff. He's lost a fair bit of blood. Oh no, that was his favorite thing to have. He didn't seem too bad in the first hour or so, but the hemorrhage like that is enough to make even the one and only Sholmes pipe down. Mr. Sholmes is a human like the rest of us, you know. Except for when he's hanging on a coat rack. Anyway, he's having emergency surgery right now. They gotta stop that bleed. But he'll be alright, won't he? They'll be able to make him better? Of course, your ladyship. He'll be right as rain before you know it. Really? How do you know? How do I know? Well, I'm psychic. Because, of course, yeah, because Mr. Sholmes is such a great detective, that's why. You're lying through your teeth. Better pray the doctors have a better grasp of what's needed to make someone well again. Oh dear, please don't die, Hurley. You're not that great a detective. I'll report you to the leadership the moment I hear he's out of the operating theater. By the way, he's out of the operating theater. I couldn't help noticing, Inspector. What? Not with the sunshine. There seems to be a marked difference between the way you talk to me and Iris. What's the sauce, Sonny? I'm a copper. We don't get favoritism. But he's right. You do treat us differently. That's because of those adventures of Verloc Sholmes stories. That's why. Oh. I crop up in them, don't I? Inspector Tobias Gregson. Oh, well, yeah, because you're an acquaintance of Hurley's. When you write about the inspector, Iris? I don't remember, really. It's one of Sholm's lines. Gregson's the smartest of the Scotland Yarders. That's how he put it. Oh, did I write that? You know what that one line did for me, eh? Very next month, my pay doubled. Doubled, I tell you. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, because everyone at the yard reads them. They all read her like Sholm stories. They've even set up a fan club for me. Of course, that explains everything. It was around that time you became such a toady to me. Can you blame me? All it takes is one bad word from you and Sholmes could change his tune about me. Gregson, great detective, will say. He's getting quite overrated these days. Think what happened to my salary if it came to that print, eh? Whole thing gives me the willies. I can't tell you how many nights of sleep I lost worrying about it. But that would never happen, Gregsy. Every month, the new Radins magazine comes out, my hands are trembling as I turn the pages. Oh, how awful for you. Here, have some of my tea to settle your nerves. Glug glug, glug glug. Ah. Lovely. Thank you very much. I really hit the spot. Your ladyship. Teetotal. Total tea. Oh yeah. There's something I was supposed to talk to you about actually, Mr. Naruto. Yeah, what is it? Got an important message for you. Clean forgot about it until now. Important message? Wonder what it could be. You could just tell me. Are you gonna tell me what this important message is then, Inspector? Yeah, eventually. By that young lady who's normally by your side, your assistant. She's dead. Dear Susie, is she alright? She's at the station, isn't she? Being questioned, I believe. Nope, not anymore. She had to head off. Head off? Where? Lord Strongart's office, of course. He summoned her. Ah, yeah, of course. I'd forgotten about that. One of the whipstocks took her there in the yard carriage after we finished questioning her. Asked to tell her she didn't have to fare for the return journey and to go meet her there. So you could pay. Got a nerve using Scotland Yard as a Blue and Messenger service. I see. Well, thank you for passing that on, Inspector. Why'd Susie have to go to the Lord Chief Justice? She didn't tell me. No one ever tells me anything. Sent her to the Lord Chief Justice's office to fetch her straight away. I guess we're just walking there. A new location's been added. Wonder if anyone's gotten rid of the stupid birds. British Supreme Court, Lord Chief Justice Office. Probably the longest named place. Yeah, no matter how many times I come here, I always get the same sense of oppressiveness somehow. Do you think the place is oppressive? I think it's normal. How so? I mean, look at that suit of armor over there. You can't take that seriously, can you? He just thinks the same about you. Rude. But, you know, she has a point. I don't know if I'd be able to take a suit of armor seriously, either. So everything's clear with regard to tomorrow's arrangements, I trust. Yes, thank you very much. There they are, Sasato and Lord Stronghart. I wonder what they're talking about. They both look very serious. Very good. There's nothing further to discuss. You may return to your lodgings. No doubt you have much to do in preparation for your return to your homeland. Your what? What did you just say? Your return to your homeland? Sasato? Well, you might get your wish, Phoenix. Oh, the birds. They're very distracting. Oh, hello. What was all that about? Ah, Mr. Naruhodo. Thank you for coming to collect your colleague. What's this all about? Why are you talking about Miss Sasato's return to her homeland? And tomorrow? Tomorrow? Tomorrow. tomorrow.
What about Guinea's trial? You mean... she's been formally charged now? Oh dear.
Mrs. Sada, what's this all about?
Oh, please don't concern yourself, Mr. Naruhodo.
I'm gonna concern myself.
It's only me going back to Japan. Your life here can continue just as it has.
That's not what I asked. What happened? Why are you leaving?
It's my father. He's fallen ill.
Oh. I don't believe you.
Oh no.
Professor Mikotoba?
Ah, hello. You remember me, right? If I may.
Why are you question marks at my flashback if I know who you are now?
Must be the different Ryusuke Naruhodo, I believe.
Yeah, that's right, that's me.
My name is Yujin Mikotoba. I'm professor of forensic medicine at Yume University.
Why was that the flashback?
We received an international telegram from the Empire of Japan informing us of the news.
Why, though? Why would that concern them? 10 days ago, father collapsed with a fever. The cause is apparently unknown. Seems he grows weaker day by day.
I don't believe it.
As you're aware, the voyage from here to your country's capital, Tokyo, takes some 50 days. I thought it'd be prudent to hasten Mr. Sato's departure as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely, I guess. Side note, do I have parents? Yeah, I don't think they ever go over the Naruhodo family.
I will leave London first thing tomorrow morning.
Can't believe this is happening.
So Gina's been charged? She'll have to appear in court?
Yeah, she was formally charged a few hours ago. And the day of the trial's already been set for tomorrow.
No, not even 24 hours later.
Gina? Ah, the Lestrade girl and the murder of the Baker Street pawnbroker, yes. An all too transpicious case. The pickpocket was clearly disturbed mid-robbery and she shot the man in a panic. Where did she get the gun? Not a thing we need to concern ourselves with. No, the odds are overstretched as is, without wasting time on these open and shut cases that are not open and shut. By any means.
It's not wasting time. Guinea would never do something like that.
Who are you? Mr. Naruhodo?
Yeah, Lord Strongheart?
In defense of your fine services today, I shall overlook this young girl's insolence. I have no recollection of admitting a child in my office. Leave now.
Rude. Of course, Lord Strongheart.
Criminals will tell the most palatable lies in order to evade justice. The police can ill afford time it takes to unravel their untruths. Meanwhile, the more crimes are perpetrated.
It seems more like a problem on your side than ours.
There are more serious matters on which to contend.
Serious matters? Didn't Gregson mention something like that yesterday?
Inspector Gregson made a similar remark yesterday.
Thanks for reading my mind!
No concern of yours, though I'm sure I need not to remind you of that. "3 minutes precisely until my next meeting. You must excuse me."
There's just one more thing, Lord Strongheart.
Which is?
It's Miss Lestrade's trial. I wonder if you might permit me to defend her?
A timely suggestion.
Sorry?
Girl currently has no representation. Again! It's weird that happened 3 times in a row with you.
But that's not fair. She may be a pickpocket, but she still deserves a fair trial.
Well, yes. Do not misunderstand me, young lady. You were already told she rejected it. Government provides for those too poor to afford representation with a public defender. The accused need only sign the relevant paperwork, and the defense barrister will be assigned to the case. However, the young girl in question has refused that right.
Why would she do that?
Ryu, we just talked to her.
Question you would do well to direct to Miss Lestrade. You'll find her at the local prison.
Yeah, thank you.
Now then, it's time I was leaving. Good day to you.
What a day. Gina charged with murder, Sato about to leave, Sholmes' operation, I ran out of milk this morning for my cereal. Everything's just going bad.
Come, Mr. Naruto, Iris, we must make haste. But Susie? You're leaving for Japan tomorrow morning, aren't you? Don't you have packing and things to do? Susie will become Lucy. As Mr. Naruto's judicial assistant, my personal circumstances are of no consequence. That's not how that works, but it's fine. My sole purpose remains to help you in whatever way I can.
Thanks, Mrs. Sato. That's a very pensive look.
I think we ought to visit Gina first. In any case, I should like to wish her well before I leave. Sounds like a good idea. Let's go!
If I'm honest, this has completely thrown me off. I just have to do what I can, as a lawyer.
Maybe kill those stupid birds. Huh, even though we have Susato, Iris is still the one giving all the area descriptions. Weird.
"16th of April. Local prison cell 13.
I wonder what cell we were at with the... I forgot his name. Mr. Yells a Lot. The book writer.
Hello again, Gina. Okay, we're gonna go through this whole animation again.
What are you lot here for now?
I have the muzzle of that grenade launcher shoved in my faces yet again, obviously.
I think I need to improve the way you load the ammunition into that thing, don't I? It's pretty slow, yeah? Look, you can come as many times as you like, but I ain't got nothing more to say to you. I'm here now, though. Gina, I wonder if you might hear me out. Something I'd like to say. What? I'm sorry to say that I must reluctantly bid you farewell. Eh? Farewell? Tomorrow I must begin my journey back home, to Japan. I fear we may never meet again. Oh, right. I've had the pleasure of meeting so many lovely people here in London. I have so many wonderful memories, and I'm sure I won't get a telegram tomorrow telling me that my dad's fine and I don't need to go home. And yet, as things stand now, it'll be a glum parting indeed. Poor Iris is so miserable. Well, that ain't my business. Both Iris and Mr. Naruto believe you to be innocent, Gina. They put their faith in you. But somehow, you can't find in your heart to put your faith in them. Yeah, that's right, I can't. What of it? Grieves me greatly to have to say goodbye to my friends when they're so clearly unhappy. Because of you. Eh? What? It's my fault? Yes, so I've one final request, Gina, before our paths never cross again. Making it sound like you're gonna die. Right here and now. I want you to show both of them that you don't deserve the faith they invested in you. Eh? Only by doing that will you truly be as alone as you claim to be. What are you talking about? What do you expect me to do, eh? Shoot you with a grenade? I already did that. You told us that everyone lies. So prove it by admitting one of your own untruths. What about what you said before, Gini? You said something about unforgivable lies. Let's tell Mr. Naruto and Iris the truth now. That's my last request before I leave. My last request as a judicial assistant. And as your friend. No. I can't.
Whatever these lies are, they're obviously weighing very heavily on Gina's mind. Gina, I could be wrong, but is it something to do with what happened 2 months ago? Something about the trial? One in which Magnus McGilda was acquitted? Case of that mysterious murder that took place inside the omnibus. You were called as a witness by the prosecution. That what this is about?
Yeah, you're right. 'Cause in that trial, I lied. I lied like you wouldn't believe.
Can you tell us about it now? I mean, I never got paid for that, so I won't get in trouble, right?
Like you said, all happened 2 months ago. Coppers got a hold of me and shoved me in the witness stand.
Based on your testimony, Mr. McGill was declared innocent.
Yeah? Well, thing is, lied about the whole bunch of stuff.
I knew it.
What sort of thing did you lie about? All of it. I had none of the seat that night. That was the truth. It was pitch black in that little cubbyhole. I couldn't see a thing. And then I heard that loud thud, like someone falling on the floor.
That's when Mr. McGill discovered you?
Yeah. He pulled me out from under the seat. Had me sat me next to a dead man. There wasn't much light to see by, but when I looked at me hands, I had Cole's blood all over them. I was so scared, couldn't even speak.
You had his blood in your hands? In other words, it was Gina the witness on the roof deck saw through the skylight.
There's no blood on her hands right now, though. Then Mr. McGill started asking you questions, I suppose. Who you were and why you were hiding under the seat. Yeah, he did. Only, that's not all.
What do you mean?
I mean, he threatened me.
Threatened you how?
He made me swear about what I'd seen and what I heard. What he was gonna do after the Cove was found dead. Made me swear I wouldn't tell no one about any of it. And if I did that, he said he'd let me scarp it before the coppers showed up.
Gina, you must tell me what he swore you to secrecy about. About what you saw, about what you heard, everything.
Yeah, alright. Oh, jeez. What you saw, what you heard, how you heard. What other senses are there? What you felt?
Said Miss Guild made you swear not to tell anyone what you saw. But you were in the pitch black compartment under the seat the whole time, weren't you?
Yeah, with Mr. McGill sitting above your head, if I remember correctly. Yeah, that's true, but it's when I heard the thud of the Cove hitting the floor. I let out a little scream to see. Couldn't help it. McGill heard that and dragged me out by my arm. That's when he saw it. On the floor next to the old geezer who had been stabbed. A disc, all bright and shiny.
A disc? Do you mean...
Yeah, that's it. That's the one with the D. The D took off the window banks.
So the music box disc was there on the floor of the omnibus?
Not for long. McGill spotted it straight away. He picked it up smartish and stuffed it inside his pocket.
So that disc, then the omnibus 2 months ago at the scene Mr. Mason murder?
And the bog trotter told me. I weren't to mutter a word about it to no one. Uh-huh. Okay. Not how I expected the disc to come up, really. It was so dark under the seat of the cab, I was straining my ears to hear the whole time. After a while, I heard the door and the footsteps inside the cabin.
Assuming that was Mr. McGill getting on board.
Nah, not only him.
Oh.
I definitely make out the footsteps of 2 people. In that case, it would seem likely that it was Mr. McGill and the victim.
Mr. Three-Fired Mason.
Oh, the book. I haven't seen that in forever. In his testimony during the trial, Mr. McGill claimed he stepped during the carriage ride. I don't remember how to do voices. As evident by my lack of voices. Whenever I'm in a carriage, I'm taken with a fierce tightness and always succumb to it. In your own testimony, Gina supported his. Hey, I'm here now. All I could hear was the Irishman snoring. Yeah, that weren't exactly true. Neither of them was asleep. I could hear them talking the whole time, in low voices.
What? What were they talking about?
Huh? Sorry, I don't know. Sound of those horses and the wheels too loud. It still tells us something. Mr. McGill and the victim knew each other. Mr. McGill was lying, as I suspected. Which was fairly obvious, honestly. No one gonna take long before someone raised the alarm that bloke had been killed. Yes, you were quite right. The other passengers on the roof deck noticed very quickly. When the cab came to a stop, McGill told me he died under the back of the seat again. I climbed in and waited. 2 calls from up top ran to get the coppers. Yeah, Mr. Fairplay and Mr. First. That's a first. Yeah, right. After they'd gone, McGill asked the driver to do him a favor. A favor? Now then, fella, what I need you to do is take this coat of mine and dispose it in a nearby pawnbroker. And for your troubles, let's see now. Aye, I'll give you 10 guineas. Nearby pawnbroker? You mean on Baker Street? Yeah. Yep, you got it. It was Winterbanks. Koji snapped up the money and ran off to pop the coat as fast as he could. There was no one left in the carriage. McGill opened the box under the seat and let me get out of there. But not without conditions. I see. Conditions. What were his conditions? For letting you go free, I mean. Not telling a soul. Not for anything. About what I saw and what I heard. And there was something else as well. There's more? Yeah. This is the most important thing, he said. 2D image. I'm gonna have to send him a coachman a little errand for me, with some small change in his hand. Now then, do you hear what I asked of him? You see anything at all? Asked him to go pop your weasel, right? Aye. Fiend's taking me overcoat to deposit pawnbroker's hereabouts. I don't want you last to take the redemption ticket for it. Do you understand? What? You want me to have the ticket? That's right. I'll come fetch it from you later. Sometime within the next 2 months. You gotta hang on to this till then. Is that clear? And whatever you do, don't lose it. Alright then. In case I might happen to be delayed at all. You gotta go to the pawn shop, Winterbanks, so it is. And you'll extend the loan for me 2 months is up. If you forget, the article will be forfeited. Any old fiend come along and buy it. Eh? But I ain't got that kind of brass. Here's £5. That should be enough. You understand each other, lass. Don't try anything funny now. If you go against me. Yeah, get it. Good. One more thing. A few days from now, you'll be visited by the police, I've no doubt. The coppers? Aye. They'll come asking you what to stand in court. Testify as a witness. Let's just have a wee chat about that, shall we? What is that you might say, and what is it you won't? Alright. ... So I won't say dot, but I also will say dot. But if I say dot and don't say dot, do I say the third dot? Oh, dot. I forgot. After he gone over it all, I picked it. Got as far away from there as I could. And he hid the pawnbroker sitting in some bushes near Bassine. When I went to fetch it the next day, once it got dark. So McGill planned it, and coerced Gina into giving a false testimony. As we already suspected. I bet you're ready to string me up, eh? I lied in that big old courtroom. Told some corkers. Thing is, he said he would make it so we wouldn't live in the East End no more. That's what he threatened me with. What a wicked man. He knew everything what went on in the back slums. He knew we had no one to look after us. It was all we just looking out for each other, getting by together. So you mean Mr. McGill would have... In a heartbeat. He'd had the loss of us chased out of there if he wanted. And where we have gone, eh? Nowhere, that's where. So, I didn't have no choice. Thank you, Gina, for telling us everything. But, I'm for it now, eh? Go on, admit it. You must be livid. You can make amends by doing me a simple favor. Favor? What? Sign the representation papers for tomorrow's trial. Eh? You don't actually want me to represent you in court, you can rip it off later. But we need that paperwork or we can't investigate. The police won't let us. Investigate what? Seeing the incident last night. Mr. Shone was shot, you see. You what? Charlie's having a big operation right now, Cutie.
Is it bad? Is he gonna be alright? Sholmes gonna be alright, right? That's why I want to investigate, for Mr. Sholmes' sake as much as anything. Right. So what you're saying is, if I sign that bit of paper, everyone's happy, is that it? Something like that. Mrs. Sato? Yeah, of course. Of course I have representation papers just conveniently in my sleeve. I don't need no one to stick up for me, though. No lawyer or nothing. Poor Guinea. Seems so lonely. Guinea's representation papers have been added to the court record. Well, at least this should mean we can investigate the scene with Windibanks now. Yeah. And perhaps we can come back to visit Guinea when we're done there? Yeah, of course. Feel like we finally cracked Gina. She's opened up to us at last, and now I have her representation papers. No one else knows just what responsibility that is. Anyway, for now it means Inspector Gregson can't stop us from investigating at Windibanks. Be continued. Although something tells me he's not going to be happy about it. Now, to be continued. Just had to throw in that last bit, I guess. But everything is proceeding as expected. There's only a few questions up in the air still. Like, why did he do it? And who shot the guy? And also, who killed Mr. McGill, I guess. But that may have been the vampire. It was not me, though. Here we are again at crime scene. Now to thrust these representation papers in Gregson's face and see what he makes of them. Hello again, Inspector. Do you have a minute, please? What is it now? You should go home and get some rest. Here you are, Gregsy. These are the representation papers. They didn't let me present it. Iris, you stole my job. Your ladyship. Ow! I don't believe it. How the devil you get that stubborn little ragabash to sign that? I salute you. That's good work, that is. I can see you've been very busy here as well, although I didn't actually do anything. How about some tea? It's a special blend designed to relieve fatigue. Ah, lovely. Let's see now. Yeah. I hardly feel tired at all. I'm fit up as a fiddle, your ladyship. You alright if we investigate the scene of the crime, then? Do as you please, even though you're not a detective. You know where it happened, through the door behind the counter. Yeah, the storeroom. That's where I discovered Mr. Windibank and Gina. Right, well, I'll be getting back to business then. You be investigating the storeroom as well, Inspector? If I'm perfectly honest, we need to wrap this up for long. Can't afford to spend too much time on it. There's so many articles to go through, it's taking forever, even with the lads working around the clock. Which is the problem, because it's another case the yard needs to investigate urgently. Must be what Lord Strongarm meant by far more serious matters before. What I'm saying is don't get out of my feet, sunshine. Come then, let's not waste any time. And now, with that, we will waste some time, because I'm going to get myself my own cup of tea, which I remembered earlier and then, conveniently forgot about again. So we will be taking a tiny break, but I will be right back, and then we will continue the story. But, give me your thoughts on what you think might be the truth. Unless you already know, in which case, don't say anything. But if you're as blind as I am, then any insight is welcome. Anywho, be right back. The truth is out there. And in some random weather.
I have returned. Sorry. So I have butterscotch tea, which I probably need to add a little something to it, but it's been steeping like all day and night. That's not bad. It's just very subtle. Does butterscotch tea sound ridiculous though? Because I'm gonna look at the actual thing I got. Because I got an email. Oop. No, not hot click. I got an email from the place I bought tea from. And they have some pretty ridiculous flavors, but the one they specifically sent me a thing for. Ah, here it is. They have a new tea. You can get a free sample with the purchase of a $30 thing, which is ridiculous in itself. It's like, I don't really want to spend $30 to get a free sample of something. But it is a free sample of strawberry banana split tea. Which is an interesting tea flavor. No, the free sample just comes with a purchase of $29 or more. So you're not paying for the sample. You're just getting an added bonus for buying $30 worth of stuff. If it was like $10, I might have considered it, but I spent like $20 buying that whole thing of tea before, and I'm still not out of them. Which is mostly my fault, because I haven't actually been using them that much. I just said it. The sample tea is strawberry banana split. Let's see if there's... It's caffeine-free, sugar-free somehow. I don't think they know that, you know, bananas and strawberries have sugar in them. And all that's missing is the cherry on top, so it says. It's okay, random. I was just worried I may be cut out. You know, I might actually get one of these stupid pictures, and then I can get free tea, because this picture actually looks pretty good. It has like a little thing in the middle for loose tea to go into. I'll think about that later. They have a lot of good sounding tea. I'm just not good at preparing them. It's like my favorite that I bought was... see if I can look at my history. Well, never mind. It would take too long to look into. But I bought like some starter thing, and it came with what was it? Ah, white peach tea was really good. I don't think I put enough stuff in it or let it steep enough or something, but that one was good. And then there was also... forget which one it was. It was something very simple, but I drank that one like in a month. If I could share it with you, I would. But I think you're several hours away. I also have a thing I got from Walmart, is just apple cider tea, which was also good, though a little strong. But I've only been really enjoying iced tea because, you know, I'm not really good with hot stuff. Mostly because I am very clumsy and impatient, so I'll burn myself. I also prefer fruity teas.
fruities. Yeah, look here. A bullet.
Oh yes, a bullet hole. I can see the bullet still lodged in the wall.
Presumably, Mr. Winterbank wasn't practicing with his revolver in his spare time. He would have probably shot himself if he was.
Ah, well... Mr. Sholmes likes to practice in his drawing room whenever he can. He's very patriotic like that.
Sorry?
There's all the adventures of Herlock Sholmes, you know. Isn't that right, Iris? Did I write something like that? Partly in jest, perhaps. In jest? Well, he doesn't do it often. It's quite a dangerous pastime.
Doesn't do it often. He shouldn't even do it once.
Forget that for now, Runo. Let's examine this bullet. Okay.
What's that around the bullet hole?
Blood. No, I'm sorry. They shot a tomato off someone's head.
Is it blood? Suspicious red stain on the calendar.
Aha! I may be able to help with that.
What?
Something like the sight of blood to get the blood pumping, is it, Runo?
I have a feeling I'm not as blood-minded as you, Iris.
I'm afraid the sight of blood makes my blood run cold. There you have it, you see? When it comes to blood, we're all in different types.
Yeah, A, B, A, C, D. Right? Those blood types? What a scientific observation.
So you need this.
Did we get the gun?
Can we finally use the gunpowder? Hurley and I haven't actually come up with a name for it yet. Why don't you name it? As soon as you see it in action, you'll understand what it does. Watch. Boop.
It turned it green. Color of the bloodstain has changed.
Also, is the Bobby that was standing in front of it okay? There, does it make sense now? It's no longer green in this scene.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to understand.
Good. It works on the principle, and different people have different types of blood, you see. Ah, I see. No, a censorship gun would have made it pink. How wonderful. Chemical fires combines with the blood and makes it change color. You can identify whose blood it is that you're looking at in a flash, unless they have the same blood type. What a fabulous invention, Iris. Isn't it? Isn't it? I bet Gideon would say it's bleeding great.
Well, yeah, it's a blood gun.
Whose blood are we looking at? I don't know. Well, all the chemical does is turn the blood different colors, so... just find someone whose blood turns the same color, and you'll know who it belongs to. In a flash.
It's more like two flashes, really, isn't it?
One flash or two. One flash or two will turn your blood blue. Very well turn out to be a very valuable clue. That also rhymes. Must make note of it in the court record. Blood symbol's been sent to the court record. Let's keep testing and adding the result of any other blood analysis to the portfolio. As long as I have the region left, sure.
Isn't that strange contraption lets you see pictures of the right in front of your eyes? Makes you think. When Mr. Sholmes gleefully showed us to us yesterday, we were blissfully unaware that any of this was about to happen. Really makes you think. Fairly sure the contraption here was yesterday as well. Here we are, though I'm not confident I can get close again.
Oh yeah, that's a folding stereoscope.
Really? This is a stereoscope?
Mr. Sholmes showed us a picture yesterday we were supposed to be able to see in their 3 dimensions.
But for that, he used a great big contraption over there.
Well, that's for public houses and places like that. It contains a carousel with all sorts of pictures inside. Hello, Reese Lane. Winterbank, the pawnbroker, is dead, sadly. Gina is the accused, you know, Miss Lestrade. And Sholmes got shot and is currently in the hospital. This little thing is so much simpler design for use at home. Special shops and prints you can use in them. I have a little collection myself.
I wonder if I can make money out of these in Japan. Be It would be keeping my toilet sparkling clean anyway.
I didn't shoot them. Some devilish rogue shot them.
These shelves are where the pawnbroker puts articles that have been forfeited to display customers to buy.
Oh yeah, Sasato leaves tomorrow, but don't worry, she won't.
Yeah, it's really strange. It's a really strange mission Selani, isn't it? I mean, who would buy a horse statue, for example?
Well, sometimes you can find some real treasures among the junk, you know. Are you alright, Maruno?
No, it's just, well, looks like a collection of useless junk as a whole, but when you pick out individual things, you can't help but wishing you owned them. Even that horse statue.
That's exactly how the pawnbroker works!
They're very clever.
Apparently her father has fallen sick, and it takes 50 days for them to get back to Japan. So they're like, okay, well, you need to leave right away so you can see your dying dad, even though he probably just has a fever.
That's a music box. Do you have them where you come from, Runo? Yeah, but I've never seen one as large as this in Japan.
Oh well, this will be a treat. Shall we have a listen?
What do you think? Isn't it a pretty sound? It's a beautiful sound, yeah, but a little hard to enjoy when all the policemen in the room are giving you the fierce looks.
Never mind that. If any of them say anything, I'll tell Gregsy to have a word.
Iris Wilson, Superintendent of Scotland Yard. Queen Iris.
I still can't get over the thinker being here. You would think they would put something else, but nope. Stupid thinker.
A cactus? I've been staring intently at the wall since before we came in here.
Phew, keep it down.
Oh, sorry.
There's a major clue just to hear.
Really? Must tell Gregsy at once.
As soon as I report it, that'll be it. I'll be stuck here even longer.
Stuck here? What do you mean?
I haven't been home in 2 days already. I need another constable to relieve me and take over my shift.
They really have a tough time, the British police.
Almost like they should hire more people.
Doesn't stop us from investigating, though, does it? No, I suppose not. Fairly sure it was just a calendar he was peering at.
I was kind of surprised that we didn't get like a box to look through, but I guess it might be in the back still. And what's on the ground?
Investigate thoroughly, but I can't find anything out of place.
Except for the stuff on the ground.
Article ledger here, and Mr. Wyndham makes notes, and... What's this? Looks as though someone has left a little photographic print behind.
Oh, look at the back! There's some writing!
Show us, Susie, show us!
Wait, this is the exact same thing we had before.
Loan amount paid, £1. Redemption deadline, 15th of April, 10:30. Gentleman's overcoat pawned for £1. Clearly it's a very fine coat. In fact, I think... Yeah, this must be the ticket for the overcoat that Guinea redeemed yesterday. It's still wearing, which belonged to Miss Gilded. I don't expect this redemption ticket to be handwritten on the back of a photograph, though, or have a giant blood stain.
Means Mr. Winnebank to use whatever piece of paper you happen to have on hand.
But this photograph of a cat, it makes me laugh, but looks very familiar, doesn't it? I'm sure I've seen this exact same picture somewhere else recently.
Oh yeah, you're right. Very recently. The same as the one Guinea gave us earlier.
Of course, I was forgetting that you gave us that print.
Get it out. Alright, let the cogs turn. But I already... Oh, now we can look at them in 3D.
I got it. These two photographs hide an amazing secret. A secret? What does she mean?
Must tell us, Iris. At once.
Do you really want to know? Really, really, really? Yes, we need you to tell us all about this pair of photographs.
Oh, I guess now we have to talk about it. Okay, fine.
So, Iris, tell us about these 2 photographic prints. One we found here in Mr. Windibake's counter and the one Guinea gave us before.
We already know the back of them has a thing.
What's the amazing secret you mentioned that's hidden between these 2 identical prints?
That's not quite right. If you look carefully, 2 prints aren't the same. Not exactly.
They're not?
Have another look at them now. You'll laugh in a different way. You know, the cat's slightly different? It's hard to tell. You see that they're just slightly different from each other?
I think so. It's very subtle, though.
But what's the reason for the subtle difference between the 2 prints? Ah, well, it's because they're a set, you see.
No, I don't.
This pair of photographs gives you 2 laughs. It's meant to be used in a stereoscope. Everyone in London's raving about them at the moment.
Ah, stereoscope. I feel I've heard that word before recently, because we were literally just talking about it.
That's what Mr. Sholmes showed us yesterday. You see? There it is, just over there.
Yeah, of course. Magical machine that makes pictures look almost real enough to touch.
Well, actually, it's quite possible to see the same depth in pictures even without one of those contraptions.
What? Really?
Do you know how a pair of flat photographic prints can appear to have any depth in the first place? No, I have no idea. Oh, wonderful, then I'll be able to tell you.
She's over the moon, bless her. Should we let her explain, though? Really need to carry on investigating the scene.
I, for one, simply have to know.
I never really had a choice, did I?
Have you ever considered, Runo, how our eyes see depth in the world around us?
I just open them, and it works.
Thank you, Rio. You're a marvel. But the reason it works is because we have 2 eyes.
2 eyes? But I only have the one.
By closing just one eye at a time, I think you'll see straight away.
Well, actually, I won't see straight away because one eye will be closed. If anything, I wouldn't see straight away.
And what you see with your right eye are ever so slightly different. You get a different view in each eye. Did you try blinking your left eye and right eye?
Hello. Hope you're having a good day, Gob. Thank you so much for the 34-month sub.
The position of objects seems to shift slightly. Exactly, and with your head, your brain uses that shift to estimate depth and merges the 2 views into one. That's how we can sense depth into everything we see.
My brain really is amazing, isn't it? It does so much without telling me. Although if it did tell me, it'd probably get it wrong.
I think I see the pair of photographs consist of a left eye view and a right eye view. Is that right? And left.
Posture check, but I've already checked my posture.
Fine, you can hear me moving around. Well done, Susie. Ow, you're so quick.
So if you can persuade your brain to merge the 2 pictures together in your head, you'll be able to see the depth in these prints?
Uh-huh. You're beginning to understand.
And the stereoscope functions to act as your brain and allow you to do just that?
Yeah, but as long as you have 2 images, the 2 eyes and 1 brain, you can actually do it yourself without needing a stereoscope at all.
You can? Really? But I only have the 1 brain.
Let's try it. Let's see if we can view this pair of prints without the help of a stereoscope. Oh yes, I'm dying to have a go.
Sada really loves this kind of thing.
You need to be able to cross your eyes. That's the main thing. Can you do that?
Cross my eyes? I think I can, but how will I make one go up and one go left? To make a plus, which is a cross.
Watch me and see if you can copy. Ugh. A little creepy. But I'm glad they actually animated it. Make your eyes do this. Cross your iris.
Oh, Sato's turn. I should get rid of ad time. I don't think that thing actually works anymore. Alright, let me try it. Are you ready, Mr. Naruhodo? There, how's that? There. How's that? Wonderful, now it's your turn, Runo. Will it, like, just make my screen go all jittery? Trick is to concentrate on looking the bridge of your nose with both eyes at the same time. Not exactly an easy task when two people are staring at you cross-eyed. Alright, that's enough practice. Now let's try looking at the prints. Start by staring at one print and slowly crossing your eyes. You should see two overlapping images like this. You try it now, Runo. I'm just gonna have to go give it a try, I suppose. Did the print split in two images for you? Now the next step is to put the pair of prints side by side like this, and then try crossing your eyes again. Prints should slowly merge together. Until... they form a new single image in the center. Oh yes! Mr. Naruhodo works! I can see in the middle now! It looks so real! I could look at it all day. I'm glad they're happy. I wouldn't advise that. Your eyes might start to hurt. Your turn, Runo. Oh, okay. Pretend you're looking through two pictures and slowly cross your eyes. Keep adjusting the position of your eyes until the images overlap exactly in the middle. Like this, is it? Do I have to do something? Okay. Nope. There, you managed it! So now you know how stereoscopic images work. I don't know who discovered it, but it really is quite extraordinary. Was there a point to any of this? What do you think of these stereoscopic prints then, Runo? It's certainly amazing, but it isn't easy to get the knack of viewing them properly. No, some people find it easier than others. That's why the contraptions like these exist, for people who find it tricky. I recognize that. We were just talking about it. We saw one over there yesterday, didn't we? We were just talking about it. If I remember correctly, you pressed this little knob here. Then set the pair of photographs to the stand in the back, and... still amazing, even though I know roughly how it works now. That happy little snowman. Now, London seems to agree with you. Stereoscopes are very popular at the moment. Find one of these folding contraptions in lots of households in the capital currently. These little machines are so affordable. Surely there's no need to go around staring cross-eyed at pictures like you hate them. I guess that's true. But it's much more satisfying to be able to see the effect with your own eyes. Well, I think so in any case. Stereoscopic pictures. Never heard of them until yesterday. Certainly learned a lot about them, but I wonder if the knowledge that I'll ever actually need. Second white cat photograph has been entered into the court record. Can I, like... And the ticket that Gina brought in here yesterday. Yeah, it's been entrusted to her by Miss Guild 2 months earlier. Article deposit, one gentleman's overcoat. The other redemption ticket was pocketed out of the coat. For a small box, deposited 2 days before the omnibus incident. Have anything to do with all this? Can we look at the blood stain? Mr. Naruhodo, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's something rather troubling here. I have noticed. It'd be impossible not to. The red smear, you mean? Yeah, it looks like blood, doesn't it? I wonder if Sato had picked up on that. Well, in that case, yeah, we need Iris. If only we can put 3 people in this 2D conversation. We should show this to her before we forget. Okay, now it's been updated, and we've lost the cat picture forever.
Goodbye, cat picture. That looks like blood! I would say it's from a gloved finger. Almost certainly a glove made of leather. Well, don't worry, Bruno. You can leave the rest to me. Poof! Alright, what color will it turn? Purple. Interesting. Look at that! That's a color we haven't seen before, isn't it? Simply must add it to the portfolio of blood samples. Could be an important clue. Although, it'd be nice to find out whose blood these different colors correspond to at some point. Well, this particular stain of blood... Oh, you have an idea, haven't you? You know whose blood this is? From a gloved hand? Trying to think, did Windibank have gloves on? No idea at the time. How could I? We don't have a known sample of the same color. Without that, it's impossible to know. Oh, how very vexing. I wonder. Well, it's true the color doesn't help us. What about considering how the mark came to be in there in the first place? I have an idea about that. Mightn't you, Runo? Not if you keep staring at me like that, no. Let's try that again, shall we? Well, particular stain of blood. Oh, okay, I guess I just need to answer then. I can only assume that it's either Windibank or Gina's. A little deduction. That's right. I think it's clear. You know as well? Uh-huh, you first, Runo. Who do you think it belongs to? You believe this is the blood of... Gina doesn't wear gloves, so it can't be her. Don't remember if Windibank wears them. But Mr. Mason did have gloves on. Thrice-fired Mason? You don't sound very sure of yourself the way you trailed off there. It was 2 months ago now, that case. Of course, I never met the victim, so I'm struggling to remember his name. Definitely thrice-fired, though. The victim? Of the omnibus case? His name was indeed the thrice-fired Mason. But that would mean that this bloodstain was left on the ticket 2 months ago. Yeah, I think it was. Gina brought this ticket to the Windibanks yesterday. I'm suggesting the bloodstain was already on it at that time. So it's a smear of blood from the time Mr. Mason was killed 2 months ago. Something else is coming back to me now. Mr. McGill was also wearing leather gloves that night. Now I ask you, what good-hearted soul wouldn't rush to help a fella bleeding from his stomach? I wasn't about to start worrying about my gloves now, was I? Reached to give the good man a hand. He did have gloves on then, that's right. It does look like a leather glove thumbprint on this mark, but we know that Mr. McGill had no injuries at the time anywhere on his body. From which we can conclude, any blood on the glove belonged to the victim, Mr. Mason. Mr. Naruhodo, you sound just like Mr. Sholmes. Minus the quirky slip-ups, I hope. I think you're right, Runo. Let's make a note of this. There is no Philly or Prilly the Purple Mage. Purple Mages are nerds. They're just trying to be cool red and blue together, but they don't do it right. We have a whole portfolio of blood. We're the good guys. What are you examining? He's exploring every inch of this place, by the look of it.
Instruction from the yard how to examine every article in the shop and every ledger and the book accounts. Every article? But that's a ridiculous amount of work, surely. It's been hard to work ever since the shop was declared a crime scene in the early hours. We're stiffling through all the shifts at least, but still. We'll be working through the night, that's for sure. Even then, we barely scratched the surface. Crime of the pawnbrokers must be every policeman's worst nightmare. I'm here to confirm your thoughts. Every copper's worst nightmare, you know. A crime of the pawnbrokers. Oh, we just teleported back. Okay, bye. Well, let's go to the door. Behind that door is the storeroom, isn't it? That's what Gregsy said. Yeah, that's where I saw that dreadful scene last night. Through the little window in the door, where the guy was also probably shot. As clear by the angle of the shot. But you know, we'll just ignore that, 'cause police are good at their job. Mr. Windibank face down on the floor with Gina beside him. As the accused legal representative, you have the right to examine the scene, Mr. Naruto. Must make a thorough investigation. Yeah, of course. Do the detective work. Behind that door, that's the real scene of the crime. Don't worry, if there are any clues in there, I'll shoot them and find them. Do I have to, like, actually move there? Yes. Ow. Interesting. Ah, they opened the box. Poor Iris, she's clammed up completely. Iris is bound to find this difficult. After all, Mr. Windibank's life was taken in this very room only last night. And there's someone's bike here. Hi, I'm here! Ah! Nope. Hey, Inspector! You just ditch us. What is it now, Sunshine? Look at me and tried to run away. Think Scotland Yard Inspector run away for someone who jumped a little defense lawyer, do you? I've never seen her ladyship looking like that before is the thing. I didn't know what to say to her. You weren't running away from me, you were running away from a 10-year-old. I was about to cry. It is all a little much for young Iris. Some gentle reassurance might go a long way, perhaps, Inspector. Damn. Don't trouble yourself unduly, your ladyship. I mean, at least you're not dead, are you? That's not reassuring, Gregson. I don't think that went very well. Why? Look, I'm in the middle of an investigation here, Sunshine. I told you not to get under my feet. And I'm not under your feet. I'm over here. We're investigating to do ourselves. Yeah, I'd like to hear more about the socially inept inspector has to say. Oh, Hurley. I inquire how Mr. Sholm's operation's going. Although, I don't know how he would have heard of that. Scene of the crime. What do you know? Now, Inspector, what do you make of the crime scene here? For sure, you got eyes, haven't you? Use them. What it looks like. Nothing more, nothing less. Iris, could you lend me a hand? So, Gregsy, what do you make of the crime scene here? Ah, darn it. Yeah, your ladyship, do allow me to humbly explain. Last night, shortly after the hour of 1 o'clock in the morning, Scotland Yard police attended the scene. The one and only door to the storeroom was found locked inside. It was locked from the inside. The lock appears to have been broken now, though. Is that the police officers doing? Quite right, ma'am, quite right. We took the liberty of smashing the door in. As humbly as possible. With a sledgehammer. Oh. As you can see, the victim was discovered prostrate on the floor, thuswise. Next to the affirmation body, we discovered the vile gutter child. You talking about Guinea? She's my friend, you know, Inspector. Doesn't change what she is, though. Miss Lestrade, the hapless girl, was curled up on the floor, dead to the world. Still alive, you know. Yeah, when I saw her, she appeared to be unconscious. I'm afraid to say she had the gun that was used in her hand. Assumingly the gun is still down there on the floor now. In her pocket we found the key to the door as well. What? The key to the storeroom? And you say the storeroom had been locked from the inside, Inspector? Correct. All of which leaves her ladyship's friend in something of a sticky situation, I'm afraid. But also clearly would mean she didn't do it, because he died in front of the door. Shot through the back. Obviously, my personal opinion is all some sort of misunderstanding. Of course it is, Inspector. Of course it is. How's Sholm's operation going?
You know anything about Hurley? Is the operation finished? Is Hurley alright? Is he?
Well, the thing is,
Don't mince your words, Inspector, please. You don't mean to say that Mr. Sholmes is...
No, operation's done and dusted. It's just that, well... Out with it. Yes, ma'am. They use something called a general anesthetic. It's the latest thing. Renders the whole body insensitive. The whole body anesthetized? Is that even possible? It means the operation can be completed while the patient is fast asleep.
Good, as the Empire in Japan, we can just manage to provide laughing gas for the tooth extraction.
The trouble is, the latest thing's always the greatest thing, if you follow my meaning. Couldn't get the medication to work at first, so it took hours for him to nod off. So I hear. Now the op's finished, they can't get him to wake up, apparently.
Oh my.
Yeah, someone hit the emergency stop on the England ship, the Scotland Lard Yard, and the whole shop tilted to the side and locked the room.
No one knows if the anesthetic's still in the system or if the bloke's just plain exhausted. Knowing him, though, he's probably just taking a nap. But anyway, all they can do is just stand back and watch until he comes around again.
Oh, Hurley.
But when he opens his eyes, your ladyship, I'll swear I'll get word to you. What a surprise. Even in a matter of life and death, Mr. Sholmes has to do things his way. I feel like you're sassing Mr. Sholmes in your brain, and I totally agree. What a chump. Marks the position of the body and with the chalk line. Thought it was tape. Nope, that's chalk.
Poor Mr. Windibank. He was a nice old man, even if he threatened to shoot himself like 20 times since we met him.
Well, he was shot just once through the heart. That wasn't his heart, was it? Most likely the fellow died instantly. He wouldn't have felt a thing.
That's reassuring, thanks.
Must be his blood then.
Blood? I don't like to ask such a wretched time, Iris, but I wonder if perhaps... Way ahead of you. Don't worry, Susie. I'm ready for action. Kaboom!
Blue blood? Oh no. Windibank was just a blueberry in disguise.
Now we know the color of the chemical turns when it reacts with Mr. Windibank's blood. It doesn't match our analysis of the blood stain we found in the main shop. No, but let's add the sample to the others we've already collected anyway.
Blood samples before those been updated in the court record.
How convenient that they all have different blood types, though.
This is a revolver, a real one.
And quite possibly the murder weapon used to take Mr. Windibank's life.
Can we check how many bullets it has in it?
What's the matter, Susie? You and Reno look like you're about to faint. Well, it's just that... I've rarely seen a gun in the flesh. What are you talking about? We've seen like 7 guns.
I've had issues with guns in the past. Anyway, we saw Mr. Windibank with this yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah, literally just happened.
I shall have to take my own life. Well, he did. Must be the same gun. Looks a little bigger. Last night, when I looked through the spy hole in the door next to the storeroom here, that was the same gun I saw in Gina's hand.
Why does this room have a spy hole? Oh, also, I just remembered they have a camera outside. We'll have to go look at that. Mr. Winnebank told us he only ever had a single bullet load in the revolver, didn't he? Well, it's empty now. The one and only bullet he had in his gun has been fired. Which most likely is the bullet that's inside the calendar.
Fairly certainly a single shot was fired from this revolver. Now the articles in the storeroom, this is the only thing that shows any sign of being ransacked. What is it, Iris?
That's the box file my manuscript was being kept in.
Iris's unpublished story, The Hound of Baskervilles. Surely that's not what all this...
Sorry, Iris, but if you ask me, he sold it. Without telling you. Let's check inside the box, at once. Yes.
Is it in there?
It was there! Iris' story was there!
Really? It was? That's good news, isn't it, Iris?
Yeah, I mean, of course I believed Hurley when he said he deposited it here, but still. It's a relief to actually see it.
Really? 'Cause that's not a very well hidden frown.
Iris' manuscript has been entered the court record. Well, time to read it. That's a pretty huge story. And from what I can tell, they actually did use different text for the edge we can see, which is pretty impressive.
Hound of the Baskervilles. Now Sasato know the exact title of this unpublished story. Suppose I'll just have to wait until she's ready to explain it to me.
I'm so sorry.
Don't be sorry, just, explain it. I have the feeling there's no reason to not explain it, but whatever, it's fine.
Guess we can't just sit here and read like a 400-page story. Kinda on a time limit here.
Look at all these articles that have been deposited. The room's stuffed full of them.
Can't believe how many there are. A bicycle, a gramophone, musical instruments, even the enormous paintings, look.
Pieces of different people's lives quietly gathering dust here together. Nothing very peaceful about the atmosphere here. Or at least there would be, if not for the chalk outline on the floor and the policeman shuffling around, the giant blood stain, and...
Not much I can do about that, sunshine.
I mean... you could leave.
No. Rude. Alright, what do you think of the manuscript? That's not what I think it is. Your ladyship, latest. Yep, my latest story. It's called The Hound of the Baskervilles. The most fascinating title, your ladyship. Fascinating. And, I don't suppose there any mention of my humble self in the tale this time? Good question. I can't really remember. Does anyone else know? I see. Well, then why would you, your ladyship? On his way its publication with eager anticipation.
Needn't worry, Inspector. I'm sure if you do appear, you won't do anything particularly remarkable.
That's rude. You're looking to be arrested, sunshine?
I didn't mean it like that. Even if I did, you wouldn't have bitten... You would have bitten her ladyship's head off, would you? Inspector Gregson, could you give me your opinion about this, do you think?
They don't tend to share, sunshine. Not with the general public. I'm not the general public. I'm a lawyer. I guess, Gregsy, how about some herbal tea? I'm not the general public. Why do the cops never get on the side of the defense?
They're really at the spot, your ladyship.
You don't mind sharing that then?
Okay, unknown, green. Thrice-fired mason, purple. Windabank. Oh. He's popped Windabank. Because he got popped like a blueberry. Well, I must have missed something in... Can I present the thing to her?
Oh, my manuscript. Mr. Sholmes said he deposited Windabanks and he had. But it's so strange. What's it about this particular story? I worked so hard on it. Ow. Why would Hurley say I can't publish it? I'm afraid I have no idea. All you can do is wait until he's ready to tell you, I suppose. Oh, maybe... It's because Hurley isn't in it enough. Maybe I didn't give him enough good lines. Yeah, maybe. I wish I could say that definitely isn't the reason, but I can't. He would totally do that.
I must have at least 500 lines in my stories. If I don't have the most lines, then am I even really the protagonist? Ah. What life is worth living then?
Ledger is open on the counter there. Really is enormous, isn't it? Must be an awful lot of work to keep track of all these hundreds of items in pawn. Too much to think about. Better to sell it all and have a clear head if you ask me. Clearly Mr. Windabank is very careful when it came to his articles in his care.
Okay. Can we talk about the broken thing on the ground? No? Okay. Can we talk about this shovel? Well, on the other hand, we'll go to Gina, if she's even here.
He doesn't appear to be here. I believe she must be in questioning at the moment. Oh, but wait a minute. What is it, Iris? Well, examine the scene here carefully. There's another possibility, isn't there? Guinea could have slipped the key from the jailer when he wasn't looking and escaped. Why would she do something like that? That would make the situation worse. Also, the lock's still on. Calm down, Runo. I was only joking, of course. Oh. Had me worried there. That was a great deduction. Must be your way with words, Iris. You are so wonderfully persuasive. Perhaps you don't fully understand the weight of your words carry. Oh dear, I'm sorry. I suppose a light-hearted, great detective is a contradiction in terms. And in the same situation, I'm sure Mr. Sholmes would have just thrown his head back and quaffed. I'm not entirely sure that's helpful, Mr. Naruto. Well, anyway, looks like we won't be able to talk to Gina for a while. Gotta make more progress with our investigation in the meantime. Yep, that means you missed something in the store. But also, if she did swipe the key and got herself free, the lock still wouldn't be on the door, so... You know. Scotland Yard carriage outside Windabanks. Never imagined we'd be investigating a case so close to home. Literally 2 houses away. Poor Iris, very upset by all this. Sorry, I was there. Should've done more. This is your fault, Runo. So please, don't apologize. But don't apologize! It's the criminals who are to blame for all this, so let's investigate and work how to catch them. Yeah, you're right. Shoot you with the smoke grenade. There, you're back! Okay, I didn't think he would say anything about the blood. I assume most of that will come up in the actual
court proceedings. What am I missing here? Wouldn't be an Ace Attorney game if I didn't spend a few minutes just running around in circles. Oh, I can just look at this again? Iris? Don't worry, I'm alright. We must find the true culprit. Uh-huh, absolutely. Okay, never mind. I'm surprised there's not like a stepladder in here. Or, you know, a ladder, as they would also argue. Green blood just seems wrong somehow. Oh, there are all sorts of different colors. There are pretty pinks and purples too, you know. Like I said, everyone's blood is different. I wonder what color my blood would turn out. Actually, I don't want to know. Given how average he is, I assume that his blood would just stay red. Nothing here. Guess maybe we go to the hospital? Actually, shouldn't his computer have been in there? But I don't think we saw it. I need a way to make use of a huge metal chest. It has a table for tea and coffee. Very sturdy box. I've noticed that it's always locked. Ah, well, that's because that box contains my most important things. You have no intention of telling me more about, judging by that guarded smile. But she already told us what was in the box. Yeah, I didn't think anything would be here. Nothing here. There's something I missed in the crime scene, but what could it be? Oh, hey, you're back again. That's weird. Maybe show her the blood? Maybe I identify different cases, different differences in people's blood. Like this is amazing. Really are a genius. I know I am. Hurley and I put our minds to it. We could really shake up Britain's chemists and alchemists. Do you have alchemists? You could also shake up Japan's lawyers and judges, couldn't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, for sure. Even if I didn't intend to. Yeah, that part's probably true. I don't know what I'm missing. Something very small, like this horse statue. Doesn't seem like anything's really out of place except for this, you know, broken thing on the ground. They don't want me to talk about that for some reason. And the alligator. That's always a problem. Yeah, maybe there's something out here. I don't know. Nope. Maybe there's something down the alleyway. I don't know. Home sweet home. What could I be missing, I wonder? Guess it's the classic answer, just present everything. Let's see, was this the... Yeah, one small box. Written very neatly, but still, perhaps he ran out of paper, so he had to use anything he had in hand. I don't know what the front and what the reverse side is now. Inspector, what do you make of this? Ah, what are we here then? A redemption ticket for an article deposit here, is it? Looks like someone ran an office stationery brought the ticket on whatever paper was on hand, as you already discovered. Yeah, this is the ticket from the McGill and Overcoat, one the little diver turned up with yesterday. No, actually, no, it's not. Eh? Really? You think you know better than me, do you? No, I mean, yeah, I can read, so... Bruno's right, Gregsley, this isn't the same ticket. Of course it isn't, of course it isn't. I never doubted you, your ladyship. So, what's all this about then, if I might be so bold to ask? This is a second ticket. Second one? It seemed that Mr. McGill in fact had another article of storage here at Windibanks. That right. I think we need to discuss this further with the inspector, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh good, because he's ever so easy to talk to. Alright, we found the thing I was missing. Makes sense. I was just looking for the box, but I guess telling him about it makes sense too. I think it was in the pocket of Mr. McGill's overcoat. You mean to tell me? Yeah, there's more than just the music box disc, it seems. Huh. Should have insisted on the last taking it back to the yard and examine it properly. According to the details on this ticket, Mr. McGill deposited another article here with Mr. Winterbank. Yeah, I can see it written here. A small box, was it? Any idea where it is, Gregsy? Any idea at all? Another article belonging to Mr. McGill could be an important clue. Yes, I suppose it could be. Please stop looking at me with those big turquoise eyes, all full of hope and expectation. Too much pressure. I'm losing my marbles. I'll go barking. All this time for... No time for dog impressions, Inspector. That's enough sauce from you, Sunshine. One thing that springs to mind. According to this ticket, the redemption deadline's already passed, isn't it? Oh yeah, of course. Articles are only held for 2 months. So the small box will no longer be in here then. That's right, been forfeited. Which means it could be with the shelves in the front of the shop where the forfeited items are offered for sale. Yeah, the shelves in the front. Must search it once. You're wasting your time. There are dozens of little boxes out there, hundreds even. I believe it's just potatoes wrapped in newspaper. You know, fried potatoes, so fries. Also, hello, OP. Hope you're having a good day. Did your thing already go off earlier and I didn't notice? Sapphire's not playing it. Sorry, chips. I forgot they call them chips there. Can't possibly know which one of them must have been Mr. McGill. That information's not written on the ledger. Why would it not be written? I think we should at least have a look, just in case. Of course, your ladyship, of course. Very sensibly, I'm sure. This is getting old. Dong! Ding dong! It's noon, leave. I nearly jumped out of my skin there. How could Mr. Wind make such a wicked trap? I didn't set it out to scare anyone. Oh. Is that really the time? I think perhaps we should pay Gina another visit soon. Oh? Her trial's tomorrow. We must establish whether or not you will be defending her. I think we should ask her one more time. She may have changed her mind. But what about the box?
Especially the very suspicious looking box right under the thinker.
Don't you remember, Bruno? You told her she could rip up the representation papers if she didn't want you to be your lawyer.
Really? Did I say that?
Yes, you did.
Why can Sholmes get away with that, but I can't?
Deadline for submitting the paperwork is fast approaching. In that case, we better hurry back to the prison and talk to Gina again.
But what about the box? Guys, the box? It's like right there.
This is where all the items that have been forfeited by the original owners are offered for sale. That's right, they've all got little price labels on them, but there's so many.
I wonder if the small box the ticket was for is still on the shelves somewhere.
There's like no boxes but one over there.
Box Mr. McGill deposited here just over 2 months ago.
Even if it were, finding it promises to be very troublesome indeed. There's so many boxes, could be any one of them, even the Thinker box.
Mr. Sholmes said the pawnbroker is a safe place to store anything, more secure than a bank's vault. Perhaps this small box of Mr. Gill contains something very great value.
If that's the case, he'd probably have kept it locked.
You need to find every box with a lock and break them all open. Ah! Don't throw me at the merchandise!
That sort of misconduct will get you arrested. I won't let it happen.
This takes me back. Been tons of times since Sasadas last threw me. No, it hasn't. Been like a week.
And also, it's fine for the police to do that, but not me? Okay.
Never get away with anything in this game.
My judicial assistants never let me get away with any sort of misconduct. Blech.
Cell 13.
Ah, Gina, good. You're back. Ah!
I didn't see you approaching, what? Please must have finished questioning her then. Oh, how was it, Guinea? Was it awful? Was it great?
Oh, didn't bother me.
Thank you so much for the paper you signed before. You were able to investigate at window banks.
Oh, right.
Don't you want to know how we got on? We've been ever so busy.
What's the point in asking? Won't change what everyone's saying. That I did it.
That's not...
Gina, came to ask for your final decision.
Eh? What decision?
About tomorrow's trial. Will you let me defend you, or not?
I must submit the paperwork now if you'd like Mr. Naruhodo to represent you.
Right, I see.
I really lost your fight all of a sudden. I know what it feels like. The worry is just so hard to bear. Feel like your best friend might die tomorrow.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Oh, alright then, blimey, give it a rest with them eyes, Iris. So come on then, fill us in. Who done it?
Unfortunately, we don't know that yet.
You don't say.
We don't know yet, Gina. Mr. Naruhodo, and all of us, know that you are innocent of this crime.
While we haven't managed to work out who the real culprit is, there are a number of interesting facts we've managed to establish. Number 1, the police are stupid. Number 2, the guy has blue blood. Isn't that weird? Number 3, there were 2 guns in that shop. Well, for example, reason for you being there in the first place. I think I know why you broke into window banks that night. Looks like I'm gonna have to take some evidence that clearly reveals the reason, and thrust it in Gina's face, or present it to her calmly, I suppose. But, you know. I feel like the first one would be more amusing. Found this in Mr. Winnebake's storeroom. The manuscript for Iris' latest story.
Ah. Oh, right. Well, that's good then.
Curiously, the storeroom and window bank showed no sign of being ransacked for items of value or the like, with one exception. The box file houses his manuscript. It was you, wasn't it, Gina, who broke open the box containing the manuscript last night? You were determined to find out whether or not the Hound of the Baskervilles was really in there. That's the real reason you broke into the storeroom last night, isn't it? Why don't you tell us what happened, please? Alright, yeah, this Baskervilles story. It's the latest Sholmes adventure, right? Ain't been printed yet. So I figured it's gotta be worth a fair few pieces of silver, right? Oh yeah, at least 5,000 pounds. What? That much? But I've only been getting like 2. You intended to sell Iris's manuscript, did you?
No, Guinea, how could you?
What? Wait, no, hang on. Of course I weren't gonna sell it. All I wanted to do was find out if the manuscript, or whatever you call it, really was there or not. The only reason I was in the place.
For Iris' sake, isn't that right?
Ah, we knew what you'd done from the start, Gina.
Of course we did.
Well,
I knew you wouldn't do anything mean like that, Guinea. I just knew it.
well, I saw the manuscript in the storeroom. Reminded me of what you said the night before. Grown-ups do a lot worse than that, believe me. Barefaced liars, a lot of them. You ain't just not realized it yet. I wonder if we'll see Sholmes in like a hospital coat. I'm telling you, the manuscript ain't at Winterbanks. Just soon if you had a look.
If I'm honest, I have wondered if Hurley's telling me the truth or not sometimes. I mean, sometimes I wonder if he might have hidden my manuscript somewhere I don't know. Even though I know it's wrong for me to doubt him. Oh, Guinea, that's so sweet of you. But also, you could just ask Winterbank. Just take him the ticket and be like, hey, could you tell me if you have this or not?
Alright, alright. I'll tell you why I did it. Just stop looking at me like that, Iris.
Let's do this one first, I guess. I already have the representation papers and other documents we need.
All you have to do is hand them to the court clerk. That is, if you allow me to represent you in court tomorrow. Not that you really have a choice if I just submitted them now. Nah, don't bother.
Guinea.
Rip them up and chuck them, would you? Representation papers or whatever they're called. Still ain't fancy enough to have a bin. What will you do in court tomorrow? I'll be fine on my own.
I don't think you will be.
Look, don't matter. What's gonna happen's gonna happen. One stubborn pickpocket. One picky pocket. Or 'cause of Iris, that's not why I did it. I just wanted to know the truth, that's all.
Wanted to know if Mr. Sholmes was being honest, if he really deposited the manuscript at Winterbanks.
Like I told you the night before. Never had a father. But Iris' lot ain't like mine. She's got her dad, only she can't see him. And I reckon that's gotta be harder. That's why she writes her stories. They're about her dad, really. That's what it sounded like to me, anyway. Last night, when I listened to what you were saying. Stories
About Dad?
You mean they're not the adventures of the great detective, so much as the adventures of a great detective and his trusty partner? Well, that's how I see it, yeah.
You're so thoughtful and so kind, Guinea. Yeah, we never thought it any differently, did we?
Look, give it a rest, will you? I ain't this chummy nonsense, yeah? I ain't it. Don't trust no one, alright? That's how I work. Because if you don't trust no one can let you down. Leave me alone. Go on, Scrapper. I hadn't noticed until now, but it's unmistakable. Right there on both sleeves of that overcoat. There are some very suspicious red stains. What? What are you looking at me like that? I think it might be worth presenting some of our other finds that are in that area to Gina now. Blood? The stains on the sleeves of your new coat, Gina. They're blood, aren't they? Not that I know whose blood yet. What?
Blood, Mr. Naruto.
You don't have any obvious wounds yourself, though. It could be blood that splattered from Mr. Winterbank when he was shot last night. Let's not beat around the bush here. I've got a gun. My trusty friend of mine will get results much faster than anything else. Take it easy, Iris. Don't move, Guinea. I'm going to shoot. Poof. And it's... purple. Oh. What the? Forget the sleeves. The whole coat is covered in blood. Of course, the back collar of the fabric... the black collar of the fabric is making the stains. Masking the stains. That's why we haven't seen them until now. It's not really black, though. And the blood is a reaction when the chemical turned to a purple color, which matches one of the samples we've already collected perfectly. Let's see, who had the purple blood? It was the brickmaker, Mr. Mason, the victim of the murder case 2 months ago. I knew it. What are you all on about? The victim? What do you mean? First off, you should really wash that coat. Rather uncomfortable situation, Mr. Naruto, but I think this makes things quite clear. Means the omnibus case is finally solved. Truth about who really murdered the brickmaker, Mr. Mason, is revealed. Oi! Will someone explain what's going on? Stop telling half a story. But it'll take us like 3 text boxes to explain that. Oh, do I have to converse now? See now, the victim's blood is all over Mr. McGill's overcoat. At the trial 2 months ago, the defendant said this in his testimony. What good hearted soul wouldn't rush to help a fellow bleeding from his stomach? I'm about to start worrying about me gloves now, was I? I reached out to give the man a hand. If you look at this overcoat now, it's clear. Things couldn't have risen from Mr. Gill trying to pull the victim to his feet. No, it was what really happened. The blood wouldn't have splashed all over the front of the coat. Only explanation for this pattern of blood is that it splattered over McGill's coat when he stabbed the victim in the stomach. I had to run for the truth long enough, but there's no escaping it now. The true culprit in that case, Mr. Mason's killer, was Magnus McGilded. Also, he's dead. Mr. Naruto, that horrible case is solved at last. And I helped the man walk free from that trial. I used that twisted testimony and all that sham evidence to prove his innocence. How could I have let that happen? Is he gonna throw the sword? Bruno, did you believe him, though? Did you believe Mr. McGill was innocent? I believed, or rather, I think I was trying to believe. I wanted to. Believing in those you represent in court is a defense lawyer's greatest weapon, outside the katana I wear at my waist. A weapon? Before we came to Great Britain, a great friend of mine taught me a valuable lesson. You mean Kazuma? Yeah, thanks for bringing it up. It's been a while since we've seen his headband flowing in the non-existent wind. The wind of the protagonist. Listen, Ryunosuke. We lawyers are only human. We can't know for sure what is the truth and what is a lie. Which is why we must resort to our primary weapon. An unwavering belief in our clients. That's all we really have. Unwavering belief? Only when we truly believe what our clients tell us can we fight with everything we have for their cause. In any battle, there can be no victory without faith. I believe you, unwaveringly. Also, we're like best friends, so, you know. Just throw that one under the rug. Hey, that's funny, Kina. Cool, sounds like in the Empire of Japan you come from. Everyone must be soft. Well, come on, look at the mess it's got you into. Believing in that bog trotter. Yeah, I never really helped a murderer walk free. Until he died the same day. At least you learned your lesson now, eh? Believing in people's never worth it. Someone's always stab you in the back in the end. As soon as you let you down your guard, you've had it. Take a leaf out of my book. Believe no one. Get up by no one.
Kina, may I ask you something?
What?
I'd just like to make absolutely sure. What would you like us to do with these representation papers for tomorrow's trial?
How many times do I have to say it? Rip them up and chuck them away.
Alright, so that's a lie then. Are you sure that's what you want?
Bet that's what he wants and all now. Mr. Unbeliever lawyer over there. Don't forget it was me in that trial 2 months ago. Led everyone up the garden path, didn't I? And you're telling me you can believe in me after all that? Not likely.
Well, Mr. Naruhodo, a lawyer's primary weapon is an unwavering belief in his clients. Ultimately, it comes down to whether or not I feel I can trust Gina after everything that's happened.
Yeah, there's no need to hesitate on that.
Gina, let me say it again. Please allow me to represent you in tomorrow's trial.
Eh? Are you half-baked?
No, I'm fully baked. I'm like a whole thing of biscuits. You've not once admitted to committing a crime, have you? What's more, I believe that you're telling me the truth.
Seriously, Mr. Naruhodo? Didn't you hear all what I said before? I'm a born liar. Fibs just trip off my tongue. I'm a diver, don't forget. I pulled the wool over your eyes 2 months ago. Got you into all sorts of trouble. Why would you ever trust me now? I just don't get it.
Gina, you understand why you chose not to put your trust in others. But I assure you, there's more to this life than you've yet realized.
What do you mean?
The world we live in is full of people you would do very well to trust. People who won't ever let you down. Like that cat.
Eh?
True that I'm just a student of law. I'm certainly lacking courtroom experience, even though I've won every case, technically. And also I did like a full month of studying. Have I ever gotten paid for doing those? McGill didn't pay me. Huh. Alright, so you might want to add poor to that list of things I am. I can promise you this. Whatever happens, and until my very last breath, I'm completely on your side.
What do you expect me to say to that?
No, expecting like a single tear, but... Then it's decided. I'll take these papers now and carry up the necessary preparation for tomorrow's trial. Be ashamed to throw them away now after it's been pinned with your name so beautifully.
Do what you like. You Eastern lot of... I don't know what you are. I don't get you.
Gina's taken herself off the back to her cell. Never admit it, but I hope she's feeling relieved. Turned out alright in the end, I think. Dot 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 dot.
Whoever's hiding there, show yourself at once! Eavesdropping is the height of cowardice. Somebody's in there in the shadows. I can sense it. Somebody who wasn't there before.
What? Ninjas?
Blimey, you're sharp, eh? Oh, it's you. Suppose you were using one of those mystic Japanese arts, like the art of stealth I've heard so much about.
Anyone was being stealthy, it was you, Inspector. Except, you really weren't since you got found out, so...
Gregsy? Oh, dear me, I'm most terribly sorry, your ladyship. Didn't mean to startle you. How long have you been listening in our conversation? Good grief, listening in. No. I just got word that there was some visitors who were refusing to leave, even though it was after hours.
We were never told to leave.
I assure you, your ladyship, I only just arrived this very minute, not a moment earlier. That's all it is. Nothing untoward, nothing at all.
After hours? Is that late already?
So that I'll humbly excuse myself now, your ladyship. Da-da, toodaloo, cheerio, all the best, by and the by of by.
A lot of farewells. Not one of them are appropriate for her ladyship.
Been a while since I've seen someone other than me use by the by. I wanted to have a chat. I'm terribly sorry, but time's pressing at the moment.
Oh, I see. That's a shame.
If I don't get this emergency, the Supreme Court dealt with choppers. Lord Strongheart will,
Emergency?
Lord Strongheart? Nothing, forget I said anything. Anyway, I'm off.
Alright, Greggsy, if you have to. But let's chat soon.
Delighted, charmed, can't wait. If you please, my pleasure, goodbye.
That's a lot of pleasantries. Not one of them sounds sincere. Gregsy's so funny. He says such silly things. Certainly entertains the inspector of the police fawning to a 10-year-old girl. Anyway, wonder what this emergency is at the Supreme Court. Let's attend the court clerk's office now before it closes. Yeah, of course. Thank you, Mrs. Sato. See you never. Kindly escort Hyris home now, Mr. Naruto. I shall meet you there later. Now, I wonder if it'll be inspection 4 or... Nope, okay, investigation came to an end. I'll assume that means we're at the end then. Decided I went to file the necessary papers for my defense of Gina the following day. Then it hit me. I no longer suppressed the wretched feeling that had been gnawing away at my insides. Tomorrow, Susato would be leaving Britain and making her way back to Japan. Naruto, it's been a very trying day, hasn't it? I do hope you're not too exhausted. What about you, Susato? Today's been even more trying for you, I'm sure. There's a showman shot before our eyes, Gina was arrested, and all the back news that her father's fallen ill and she must return to Japan at once. I hope your father recovers soon. Presumably before you actually leave. Thank you for your kind words. Wonder why it is that so many thoughts rage in my head like a storm, and yet I seem unable to find the words to express any of them. I know exactly what you mean. Relatable. Anyway, I have a final task to complete as your judicial assistant. Once that is done, I shall make preparations for my departure tomorrow. One final task? It's 2 months since we arrived in London. Managed to establish this office. It was finally feeling as though we were settling in. I would be lying if I said I felt no regret. I'm so sorry, Susato. It's just so sudden. I really don't know what to think. I had no time to gather my thoughts. I know we've only been here a short time, but in my limited experience of the courtroom, I feel I've learned something. And what would that be? Seems to me there are many facets to people's personalities. Facets? That's not a word. And like a jewel, the light plays them off in complex patterns, illuminating their actions and their motives. But we see only a small number of the total facets, and what's illuminated is only part of the whole story. What lies in the shadows? What do those facets we cannot see look like? Perhaps there are some parts we'll never lay eyes on, as long as we live. That's so true, but also, when did you become a poet? I didn't even know it. Sometimes I feel as though I'm blind to so much. I keep hoping that one day it'll all become clear. All the faces will be illuminated, and I'll finally understand how everything fits together. That's what matters. Is we keep our eyes open, and keep moving forward. Even if the way sometimes seems dark. I mean, I think it's been just 2 months. You've grown so much. Sorry? I've what? I don't think I've gotten any taller. Oh, it was nothing. Unimportant.
I mean, what he said was very deep, but I feel like it came out of nowhere, and I don't think he really addressed what he was going to say originally.
You know what time you leave London in the morning? Yep, I picked up my ticket earlier. I shall be leaving here at 4 a.m. I see, that's barely tomorrow. I'll escort you to the station. Absolutely not. Sorry? I'm sure you realize why I couldn't possibly let you do that. You have a very important day ahead of you tomorrow. Gina's trial. Yeah, I know, but every word you utter will have the potential to determine Gina's fate. Must get as much rest as possible. Even though, like me, I'm sure you'll find it hard to sleep. But please, for me, do try.
Oh, I froze. Okay, I'm back. The sound hiccuped so I could tell that I froze.
You mentioned one final task a moment ago. What do you mean?
Oh, I nearly forgot, because we had 2 other conversations. I want you to have this.
What is that? Some huge bundle of documents.
It's my notes from the case 2 months ago. Murder that was committed on the omnibus.
The McGilded case.
Seems to me the case of Mr. Windibake's murder, of which Keenan is accused, very much tied up with the omnibus case, in ways that are not completely apparent. I took the liberty of consolidating my writings about the case for you.
And everything else she had to think about. Sato still managed to do this, and all neatly laid out for me in her beautiful handwriting. A shame I can't read Japanese.
It was my pleasure.
Stop reading my mind.
No. I can only hope it'll be boast to your case tomorrow for Gina.
Thank you so much, Sato.
Do my best to use it wisely.
You really are the best jujitsu assistant in the world. And maybe even in all the games. But we won't tell Maya that.
Well, that's extremely flattering. But I'm sorry to say that I've been a complete failure.
Sorry? I didn't quite catch what you said there.
Oh, ignored me. I was just mumbling to myself.
I mean, we still haven't been told what our actual mission is here, but whatever.
Well, it's getting rather late. I think you should go to bed now, Naruhodo. Must finish packing up things in my room.
Sato,
I wish the very best luck tomorrow. Good night.
Wait, there's something I need to say. Yeah! What was that?
Secret technique of mine. The Sasato shutdown.
Shutdown? It's the same as the takedown.
Please, I implore you. If we have to voice our goodbyes, I won't be able to hold back my tears.
How did you teleport? Also, I guess I'll just sleep here for today.
I like that it's getting all blurry. 'Cause he's tearing up.
Sasato. Truly had been a trying day. On our feet for hours, and on my back for more time than I'd like to admit. Getting Gina to open up to us, learning the truth about the nemesis of the case, physically and mentally, I was exhausted. And yet the idea of sleep seemed impossible. But I forced myself to close my eyes. And as a cacophony of scenes of our lives here in London played through my mind, eventually, my fatigue triumphed and I fell into a deep sleep. ... Dot dot. Dot dot. Dot.
It's not to be continued then. The small hours. Ward 3, hospital.
Yeah, quite understand.
That has a great weight off my mind.
Rest assured I shall put everything in place, exactly as we have discussed.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be acquainted with you, Mr. Sholmes.
On the contrary, the pleasure has been mine. I bid you farewell, and Godspeed. My dear madam. To be continued.
How did she get out of the house without us noticing?
But hey, Sholmes is alive, so that's good. Probably. But when I awoke the following morning, Sasato was already gone. Yes, I'd already saved. But with that in mind, and I guess it just takes the last thing we were able to see, even though we weren't in that room last. That will be it for today. And tomorrow may be the finale. Or not tomorrow, but the next time we play this, may be the finale of this entire first game. Yes, I absolutely am. When Penny sneezes, I wake up. When there's a sudden, clap of thunder in the sky, I wake up. When someone nudges my door, I wake up. I kind of trained myself when I was younger to wake up at the slightest noise. Because of, I didn't have an alarm. But we had to get up for school at like 6:30 in the morning. So I just trained myself more or less to wake up at the sound of my door opening. And that makes it pretty hard to stay asleep sometimes. But yes, I'm a fairly light sleeper. She can be a loud sneezer, but her coughs are usually worse. I feel bad because there's nothing I can do for her. But either way, on that somber note, thanks so much for watching, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed the adventures of the Great Ace Attorney, and I hope you are interested in seeing this continue. That'll probably be it from me for today, though. But tomorrow will be the continuation of Donkey Kong's and also other things. Might be just the end of Donkey Kong, I don't know. But I did forget to mention that there's a game that came out that I'm like, I kind of want to go get that, but I don't know where I would put it in the stream time. So I might wait until I'm done with all these. But the No More Heroes game on the Switch apparently came out 2 days ago. So kind of wondering how that's gonna go, but maybe waiting for reviews would also be good. Who knows? That sounds terrifying. I would not be able to do that. The slightest bump in the music would make me wake up. But I'm gonna go. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed my bad voice acting, and I'll see you tomorrow for what that's worth. At least unless something else explodes. But, bye for now, and have a good night.